Welcome to the iLiveries catch-up from the duel for positions for today's Daytona 500. Let's see how they all went and let's see who gets pole. It wasn't long until we saw our first big incident, taking out a lot of the rear of the field. The remaining cars which were undamaged got back to the race. Now, let's see some serious draft action going on. Mitch Motorsport were really a force to be dealt with Jason Martin and Josh Micklemore holding out front. Edward Foster tried to lead the charge on the outside line. However, the perilous outside line caught a couple of drivers out as they spun out of control, causing another big wreck mid-pack, taking a few more drivers out of contention. With fresh tyres and fuel, the cars got back to racing. Dave Douglas now in the lead for Illusion, with Daniel Stevens next to him for Middle Finger Racing. Now we have a great bit of racing, what we love at Daytona. The pack is formed, two lines, one high, one low. The high line seemed to be doing very well after turns 1 and 2, however it suffered once it came to 3 and 4. This was going to be a great race and gave us a great bit of foreshadowing for what will come tonight at the 500. However, drama came with Josh Micklemore and Edward Foster making contact, but the yellow didn't come out. Foster managed to make it back on the track. Unfortunately, Micklemore was out. Hybrid Simulations 1 lap to go flag came out with Daniel Stevens in second place on the high line and Michael Skurlock in first. Skurlock having Dave Douglas behind him, with Stevens having Jason Martin to help push him along. The final lap was full of drama, ready to go. This was going to be a photo finish, as is often the way at Daytona. The high line still seemed to struggle as it came out of turns 3 and 4. Meaning Michael Skurlock managed to get across the line, first place, taking himself to pole position. Good evening everybody and welcome to the Daytona 500 for the ANZCAR ABRUZZI CUP series. Now, I'm afraid our stream is just having a little bit of a technical issue, so we're just running it on voice only at the moment. The green flag has just dropped. Skurlock has remained in first place. Everybody's just forming up into their little pack positions. Daniel Stevens is just running on the outside at the moment, getting a good push from Jason Martin and Danny G at the moment in the Mitch Motorsport team. Joining me for the race tonight is Lachlan Guido. How are you going, Lachlan?
G'day, Carl. Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited about it. First time I've done a bit of streaming, so it'll be good. Yeah, it's really exciting to jump in and have a go. I mean, they already started off well, so let's hope it's a good race for the rest of the night.
Yes, well, it's always the thing at Daytona. You just want to start relatively slow. You don't want to push it too hard because, of course, if you push too hard, you're going to go out pretty early. And it's always a thing here at Daytona. You've got to watch out for the big one. The big crash is always only a matter of seconds away. So hopefully we won't get one of those tonight. Hopefully everyone will run nice and clean.
Yeah, well, it looks like we've had a good start at the front anyway, and 2x2, so nothing crazy yet. No 3 wides yet.
Yeah, everybody's running relatively behaved, so that's a good thing at the moment. Always handy to have that, and it's what you want to do in this kind of race. You want to just don't run too hard because you can start having that.
But when you consider that it's 200 laps around this place, it's a lot harder and a lot more grueling than you first think. Well, like,
Yeah, it is a very grueling race, and some of these guys have actually been racing in the Panorama Drivers Club race as well earlier on, which has just means they've been racing pretty much all day today. So there are some very tired drivers out there, I am sure, but everybody's running it well at the moment, nice and behaved. We've got the two lines running at the moment. The outside line is definitely quicker as it comes down the back as it comes across the tri-oval. But it is losing a bit of time around the back straight at the moment, which is different to what we were seeing last night. Where the high line was running a lot better on the rear outside of the grid.
seems like we're sort of starting to see two packs at the moment as well, with the second pack starting to fall away a bit from the lead pack here as well.
Yeah, you will get that sort of twin pack sort of forming up. Everybody will start getting their positions, so we'll see the packs sort of falling away a bit. So far, we've got a relatively strong pack formed up down to around about 14th place, where Michael Latter is leading second series, and they're just going to start forming up and actually start trying to come up.
Noticed early on, a little bit further back, they were running single file, which seems like the more intelligent move early on, but we'll see how it all goes as the race pans out.
Yeah, getting that sort of pack formed and getting that draft is super. Obviously, you want to get that draft working as well as you can. Obviously, up front, they're going to run two bit side drafting actually going on, but also they want to sort of keep themselves in their positions. The Mitch Motorsport boys are working well together with Danny G, Jason Martin, and that's really helping Daniel Stevens. Daniel Stevens, of course, the winner of the first 500 we had back in 2018, so he's going to be wanting to try and get them.
Yeah. Big race to win, and if you can have two, well, that just adds to your CV even more.
It's always nice to get a win as well, especially first time out in and starting off the championship strong is always a good way of doing it. As we go further back, the guys are starting to get a little bit racy towards the back of the grid. Got a deep single line forming pretty much from Norman Clark onwards, and there are quite a few guys down at the back there. Usually are up much higher in the field, so I imagine those guys but they're running that single.
And when you look at someone, we'll just use Jason Hardigan, for example, has done 3 races this week in the speed weeks, and each of the 3 races he's been involved in some sort of wreck. He's one that's hoping that bad things come in threes, and he's having a good race tonight.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to sort of get your brain out of the sort of mindset of having crashes and bad very often. Do tend to risk becoming relative. Allison, he's sitting on the tail of that front pack. Then Tristan Koch is next pack down. And those guys are starting to kind of double up. You've got a few drivers down track now. Some really fast drivers. James Roden getting just towards the end of the pack with Matthew Clerk just starting to close up, and he's pulling along the rest of the Raymond Yeager, Norman Clark, Jason Martin, Matt Hunter, Jonathan Haig, Scott Butler as well. And those guys are getting pulled along to meet that sort of second pack they're going to start warming up. Because when you're running on a nice long snake like they are, that's going to make things just a little bit better and just gives you that little bit extra speed.
Yeah, I mean, as it is, 7 cars drafting is going to be far quicker than 2 lots of 4 cars drafting. So hopefully we can see them close up and we'll see what happens. They sort of concertina on each other.
Yeah, and of course the big thing now is strategy. And with this, getting a bit of green flag running under our belts, we've managed to nice green flag sections. Oh boy, there's been a few of them where it's not even lasted that long.
Yeah.
A bit more fuel. So, expect these front guys packs to be hitting around that third. Things like that.
And it doesn't matter if you're leading the first or the second pack, you're still going to burn the same amount of fuel. So it's almost beneficial as the leader of the pack to sometimes halfway through a run, pull up high, back off, roll back to the back of the pack and just start drafting a bit, save a bit of fuel. Otherwise you might get in a position where you'll have to be pitting on your own. That's going to hurt you even more than if you were to be able to pit with other people.
And that's it. You want to just basically switch around and just get your drivers handling. Just get the back of the field down from 20 onwards. The tail snake has now caught the other pack. So Hamish Gallagher has just caught on to Ryan Bull now and people like that. So that big single line of cars has now caught onto the other pack and they're starting to get closer up there. Speaking of Ryan Bull, he's very, very close and he does tap the wall. Ryan Bull just tapping the wall there on the outside of turn number 2. He's managed to keep it, turn number 4, sorry. He's managed to keep it relatively straight, but that is some damage to the car, and that's going to hurt his aero as well, and he's going to start losing a few positions.
And it's also, you lose a bit of momentum as well, clipping the wall. So even if he hasn't done a hell of a lot of damage to the aero, he's dropped himself back because he's lost that momentum. He's going to now struggle on that outside line with no draft.
Yeah, he's going to want to try and slot himself into that snake of cars and get himself position to start after. He's just starting to catch back up onto the back Michael Cracknell at the moment, but it looks like he's struggling a little bit. He's just running a bit higher than everybody else, just starting to just lean out the corners.
Michael Cracknell also just pulled down into the bottom lane, so he's lost that draft again.
Yeah, it's going to make it a bit hard for him. Through the field, it's just a bit of keeping an eye on things at the moment, keeping an eye on who's where and what's going on with all that stuff. So that's always sometimes the trickier part of
it. We talked a bit about fuel mileage earlier before, about how being out the front hurts you. Well, for the entirety of these first few laps, we've had Daniel Stevens and Michael Skurlock leading the front pack. That's going to hurt them massively when it comes to fuel.
Yeah, they're going to really start losing that. People behind, so Dave Douglas and Jason Martin, they're going to be in a nice position to take over that lead. But then you've got to look a little bit further down, Steve. People like Edward Foster and Phil in the mid-pack. Joshua Carroll Walden as well is just lurking around down there with those guys. And
well, Ed Foster won the Truck Series race on Monday night, so definitely don't count him out.
No, he's got some experience on the super speed. Getting mid-pack like that is just going to help you out because you're getting a lot less air hitting the front of your car, which means a lot less drag, which means a bit better fuel mileage. We've got a few sort of multiple-time winners of all. People like Dave Douglas are very good on super speedway. As I said before, Dan Stevens taken out the team. The winner of last year's race, of course, Josh Micklemore, he had a bit of a disastrous moment in Duel, unfortunately, getting together with Edward Foster, and he actually speared into the pit lane. But he's starting fairly out of place. He's down in 20th position at the moment. But you can't count him out. He's who are currently running, sort of third and fourth on the high line. They're very high up there. They're very experienced in doing it. They're very good at getting into positions. So imagine those guys just start sort of flipping around. If we start getting some portions out, things like that, they might start swapping some
Oh,
positions.
we got wreck. Ryan Bull hits the wall.
Or a big accident down the back of the field. There's quite a few drivers involved in that one.
I think I saw Michael Cracknell with quite a bit of damage at the front of that car as well.
Yeah, Michael Cracknell's lost the whole front end of the car. It looks like somebody just got loose in front of him. Just going down to have a little bit of a look at that. It looks like Michael Latterer just got a little bit loose. I'm just going to have a look at the replay on that one to see what happened. Just going into the tri-oval, he's just got loose, and actually no, it was Jonathan Hancock just in front of him, got loose on the high line, went down in front of him, and that's caused a massive wreck behind him. Hancock actually managed to avoid pretty much all of the carnage. He actually caught that slide in the pit lane and managed to just avoid a lot of it, but that's really hampered people like Michael Cracknell. Josh Micklemore as well, just as talking about him, he's involved in that as well. He's relatively not too bad on damage. He's got a few bits of big aero damage on the front just from a couple of taps.
Looks like he just clipped someone right at the end of it as well. He almost got through it, and he's just clipped the 57 there right towards the end of it. Michael Ladder.
The Illusion guys of Mirko Dortonak, Chris Purnell actually really well. They managed to avoid that very, very extremely well, actually, getting out of the way for that. Good job for those guys. Fantastic job. But as we say at Daytona, you're only minutes away from the big one, or seconds away. Always about to happen. So, first big incident of the race there on, what was that, lap 16, I think it was. So, good bit of green flag running at the start. I expect to see everybody coming into the pits with this as well. That will get all of our leaders coming in. I can't really see anyone staying out right now. Probably. Obviously, everybody was up there. A lot of action in the pit lane. Looks like somebody did stay out. So Matt Allison has a track at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on the pit lane. How people go. Somebody's actually.
Oh, and Michael Skurlock missed his pit box too. He had to reverse backwards.
Yeah, we've got a few incidents in the pit lane actually. A couple of people gone sideways, a couple of people missing pit boxes. The full one is having a torrid time there. Really, really not getting into his pit box. Struggling. James Roby, yeah, really having a bad time.
Ryan Bull's crawling around to the pit lane as well. I think he got caught up. He was in the caution as well, but he was caught up in the wreck earlier, so he's just got back to the pit lane there.
Everybody's back out on track now. It looks like Daniel Stevens got a fantastic stop. Also, Billy Curtis, he shot up 11 positions. He was sort of mid-pack through that, and his pit stop was blisteringly fast, 24.8. So he's lane time. So obviously he's not taking tires or taking a little bit less fuel or something. And
or if he saved a bit more fuel during that stint, maybe possibly that he didn't have to put as much in.
That's the other thing, of course. People save some. Yeah, Riley Curtis really looking down. Other Butler had a run. Everybody else was around about the 30-second. So,
good stop for Josh Carroll Walden as well. He's got himself into that pack as well.
Yeah, some very good stops out there. Changed everything around, and looks like Riley Curtis is coming back in actually. Led a little pit lane or maybe that's why it was so.
Maybe he didn't put any fuel in at all. That could also be the problem. The game hasn't quite registered the load.
That could be the other. So, it's it looks like a really good call for Riley, but it didn't work out. It's worked out well. Matt Allison is in the league. Out there still.
Curious move there though. I'm a bit sort of unsure as to why you wouldn't take the first.
Oh, it puts you off sequence. One thing. He's going
Yeah.
to be able to. He's going to have a little bit less fuel on board. A bit lighter. From what I've heard from the drivers as well, tires are so you're not really going to lose time with. So he might just
Mm.
have enough speed to sort of relatively front of the pack and hope for enough laps. That could play out really well for him, help him up quite a few. It works out. A bit of a gamble, of course. Sometimes those gambles do pay off.
Yeah, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, as they say.
That is it. I think Mirko Dortnack last year played a blinder with a sort of strange pit stop similar to this. I mean, it was a little bit later in the race, of course, but he came in and everybody else stayed out, and it ended up working so well for him because he stayed out and everybody else had to make green flag stops. Of course, this is a slightly different way round, but it could work out quite well for him. We'll see how it goes.
A couple of big losers as well in that were the likes of Ed Foster,
Yeah.
where he's fallen right back as well.
So we're back under green and away we go. Matt Allison plants it, gets a good restart there. Daniel Stevens on the outside. It's going to take a little bit of time for the draft effect to come in and for everyone to get in their positions. But Daniel Stevens definitely is preferring that higher line. He seems to be working well out there. Now, of course, what's going to happen is some of the drivers are going to switch lines. So one of the other things after a caution like that, it puts you in a different position. If you've been running a low all race, all of a sudden you might be running high. If you're running high all race, you might be running low, and it can really throw you out because the track can change quite a lot in those positions.
And as well, you might have been running with a certain driver for that whole first green period, and they were helping push you, and now all of a sudden you've got a new driver behind you who's maybe not as keen to get up behind you as say the other one was, and then you're going to start hurting as well with the draft.
Yes, it does make things like that, and that's the thing, is you have to be used to drivers as well. There are times where you sort of become a driver, you generally sort of have trouble and keep out of there. As we have a couple of cars coming in, I think maybe serve some penalties. Matt Hunter and Johnny Capanga coming in for those. So you do have to get used to the drivers around you. Matt Allison being relatively new to the Cup series, so some drivers won't know him as well, and that can put them off as well, because obviously if you don't know a driver very well, you don't know how they can react in situations, and it can sometimes make you a little bit cautious of them.
Yeah, and as well with someone who's fairly new, the other problem is if you aren't quite used to oval racing or super speedway racing and you clip that apron at the wrong point, it can actually cause a lot of issues for the car behind you. It'll be interesting to see how he goes now leading the pack first time.
Yes, and he's doing a pretty good job of it so far. He's keeping the car relatively well. Now, Allison was running in that top pack before as well, so he's got a bit of experience running up with these guys from the start of the race, which is always good. So he's doing pretty well so far. He's just keeping his nose clean. He's not doing any sort of silly movements. He's not scrubbing out any speed. He's driving very well, and he's actually managing to pull that lower pack. High line starting to work out through those final corners now, and Dan Stevens gets a nice lick of speed there. He's got Dave Douglas behind him, just pushing him along, doing a really good job there and just helping him out. So good job for him. He's got down. Daniel Stevens has managed to slot himself in front of Allison as well. So that worked out perfectly for Stevens. He's managed to slot himself into the lead there, and that's really going to help his race out. And it's possibly going to help Allison as well, because he's now got somebody there giving him a bit of a break from the aero, so he's going to be able to save a bit more fuel as well. He's not going to be using up all that fuel he would have been using, leading the pack, punching that hole in the air for everybody else. And now Daniel Stevens has dropped out of that lead. It sort of left Dave Douglas a little bit hung out there. It's giving the opportunity to Michael Skurlock now to link himself onto the front of his teammate. So the illusion cars are working quite well there. They've got themselves, Dave Douglas, and MacArthur. So 3 illusion cars working to push each other right now, with Danny G behind him in the Rich Motorsport car, which has got split up from his teammate of Jason Martin. So we've got a few team cars working together as well, which is good. It's nice to see when the people can get that. So Phil Otto's also looking at a good position at the moment too. Phil Otto has got his teammates around him, which is going to help him out quite a lot there. Of course, the DPR racing guys, they've got a couple of cars in this race, not too many, but himself and Neil Pearson there are sort of relatively close, and there is also a couple more illusion cars working their way up the field. The pack hasn't split too much this time round, as we've seen before, so a lot of these guys are starting to climb up. So you've got quite a few cars getting back up onto the sort of lead pace at the moment, which is quite good for them. That's going to help this race out for sure. And right now Daniel Stevens is in the lead with Skurlock just on the outside of him, and we saw last night that Skurlock was able to, well, sorry, not last night, the Thursday night, that's what I'm looking for. Skurlock was able to run the low line very well, and Daniel Stevens was running the high line, of course, in the duel. A bit of a reverse of fortune now for these guys, so we're going to see how well the illusion cars run out there. Of course, the Daytona 500 is one of the only the only open setup races for the year as well. So that makes a difference too. People being able to play around with their setups can make a huge difference in this race. And the illusion cars are looking to be working very well on the outside line right now, really hanging on quite well. So we're just sitting on board with Chris Purnell at the moment, getting a good look at Purnell managing to avoid a lot of those incidents earlier on as well, so good job for him. And Chris sort of leading, just sitting behind Josh Micklemore at the moment, so in a good position for himself. And you can just sort of get to see how the drives are working these cars.
Thunder race.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so the Thunder Race winner, Chris Purnell, and Illusion are doing pretty well at the moment. There's an incident in front with one of the middle finger racing cars. The 42 has gone round, and we've got avoiding action. We should have got a beautiful view of that from Chris Purnell. Big incident there for Brett Gerditz. He's gone right off, and there are a few cars joining him as well. I think we're still not under caution just yet, I don't think. So just having a quick look at that one. Yeah, so Gerditz gets just tapped by Cracknell, I think. Caught him in the side, shunted him in the door, and brilliant avoiding work there from the 62 of Mirko Dortnack. He had sort of four-wheel lock on there, and managed to skid himself just around the middle finger racing car. Fantastic job avoiding that incident.
Sometimes in these plate tracks, your ability to avoid a wreck can be just as good as your ability to be faster around here.
Yes, that's it. It's important to, if you can avoid crashes, you're going to do well. And also all of that carnage has just caused the front to get a little bit wobbly as they've come through all of those cars rejoining the track. So yes, everybody's been thrown off from that one. That's really made a big dog's dinner of it. But also because the caution didn't come out, that's quite a dangerous situation
cars
to be in.
Lapped down as well by the leaders, so it's.
Yeah, a few cars have dropped off the lead lap from that because, well, when you've lost that speed, it's amazing how quickly these cars come up on you. You know, these guys are running over, 310, 315 kilometers per hour. and the closing speed on that is very fast. So Daniel Stevens manages to get back in the lead in the MFR car there, having better fortune than his teammate for sure. But Jason Martin's now switched with Skurlock and is now leading the rest of that pack on the outside line. So going to be helping out with fuel efficiency for those guys. They're doing a good job of just switching cars around, just getting themselves in different positions to keep that fuel number running for them. Good job there, and as I say, amazing job avoiding that incident as well. Some fantastic driving, as we saw from a lot of those guys there. They did a fantastic job not to get caught up in that incident. And that's given Chris Purnell a chance to jump in front of Josh Micklemore as well, down in 19th place. And they're starting to close up towards Tristan Koch and Edward Foster now. So those guys are starting to close up on that sort of that lead pack now. So they're doing a good job of getting up there, doing a good job of getting those positions. The guy that's really going to start having trouble now, but would have loved to have seen a caution flag fly when those cars did go around, is going to be Matt Allison. He's going to be starting to hurt for fuel. Especially those laps where he was out in front. From calculations, he's probably only got about 3 or 4 laps left of fuel, depending on how well he's managing to conserve it. So he might have to make a green flag stop here.
Well, outside line seems to have checked up a bit there.
Yeah,
Daniel.
Yeah, it does look like the outside line's just lost a bit of speed there. They've dropped back about 3 or 4 car lengths. People are starting to wobble a lot as well. There's quite a few cars just starting to run a little bit left and right on the corners, struggling for grip out there now, maybe. It's quite a warm track temperature as well. So that's not going to help things there. So we've got a track temp for 55 degrees. Of course, last night running in the...
I wonder if that outside line has just died again, because I know that on Monday night we got about 20 laps in. Outside line just lost all. I'm wondering if that's possibly what's happened again.
It might be. They might just be dropping out that little bit, losing a little bit of pace out there as the tyres do degrade a little bit. Phil Otto's just had a little moment, but he's managing to keep it. He dropped down off the track line, I think, and he's managed to get it back on the racetrack, but it's dropped a fair amount of positions. He was running relatively well up there, so that's not so good for Phil. But he's managed to keep it running, and that's the main thing. He's not
if you can find a friend to draft with as well, it's not the end of the race either.
No, that's the thing. He's just... Again, Phil Otto was one of those guys in the duel that actually had a bit of a spin and had a bit of a crash as we start going 3 wide at the front, as one of the DPR cars is coming up just past Danny G at the moment, and they're starting to sort of fall back into position, but 3 wide for a moment there. These guys are starting to get a little bit more racy now as it goes on. They're going to start looking for those positions, and this is where accidents can happen. You start feeling a bit more confident sometimes, and it's so easy to make a spin or just lose the car. As I was saying, at the duel, Phil Otto, of course, he had a moment on the tri-oval, and that seems to be the main cause of problems for these guys at the moment. It's the car getting loose over the tri-oval. So we're back with Chris Purnell now, having another look towards him, and he's running well at the moment. He's got Josh Micklemore behind him, and he's just now caught. He's just now catching up to. Just out on his own. Sorry, there we go. He's just out on his own at the moment, so he's running his own little race at the moment. He's got his own little pack formed, 4 cars strong, just single line at the moment, and they're trying to catch towards people like Edward Foster and all that lot, who are sort of a bit in front of them. Phil Otto as well, I think, is just ahead of Purnell, so I imagine Purnell's going to start catching up to Phil. and then he'll join that little pack. So they're about half a lap down at the moment, so they've got a bit of time to work up. They could really use a caution, I'm sure. They wouldn't be too disappointed to see one, as long as they don't get involved in it. But yeah, they're having a good little run out there at the moment. A nice little pack formed up. Micklemore, of course, is going to be wanting to get back up the front to help his teammates. And we're just having a look at Jono Hancock as well. Jonathan Hancock, of course, last year was with us in the commentary booth, and now he's actually racing. Always good to see that. I seem to drive commentators away. That's a common cause. But just behind him. Hopefully he'll stay.
I'll let you know it's not your fault, but I possibly may be jumping in later this year for a couple of races.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of the perks of me not racing. I think I just tend up to be the constant commentator. No skill involved in that though. But Jono Hancock just having a race on his own. It's first sort of time out here on the super speedway. He's 2 laps down at the moment. Did get involved.
We've got Matt Allison coming to pit road here. Sorry, clearly he's gamble didn't quite work for himself, and he's just about run out of fuel, so he's had to make a green flag stop. That's probably really going to hurt him in this race.
Yeah, it's definitely going to affect him. Of course, it could bring him back into it though, because if these cars run a bit longer, we had the caution on lap 16, so we went green about lap 20, say. So if this race keeps running green, then everybody has to make another green flag pit stop. If he comes out and then there's a caution thrown, it could jump him way back into this race. So he could jump back into position yet. Don't count him out too quickly. But
Definitely.
of course, when you do pit in this situation, you're basically losing yourself for draft. If you can get out again and get back onto the tail of a good pack of cars drafting and start catching up again, that's going to work out in your favour. But
he's already lost a lap here. Sorry.
Yeah, down 1 lap already, and that's just green flag pitting. He's probably going to jump down about another half a lap or even possibly a second lap now, because the cars just catch up so quickly here. He's still in pit road at the moment, so the leaders are sort of just on the back straight now. So he's going to start probably come out just on the just in front or just on the tail end of the main pack, I'd say.
Which we've had a bit of a reshuffle as well. The Illusion guys have split themselves up a bit. Jason Martin jumped down in front of Daniel Stevens and taken the lead.
Yeah, so he's had a long stop there. I wonder if maybe he got pinged for speeding in the pit lane. Maybe picked up a penalty or something, because that was a very long stop for him. He was in the pits for a long time. He was in the pits for 1 minute 24, so that is a very long pit stop. So I imagine he's picked up a penalty there or something like that. And he's going to come out onto the tail end of the Chris Purnell train at the moment, which has picked up Phil Otto and also Jason Hartigan as well. So the Chris Purnell train's got Micklemore, Jaeger, Hartigan, Otto, and going to start getting... he's going to get onto the back of that. Matt Allison will hopefully get onto the back of that little train, and that will help him catch up. But that's a bit of a disastrous stop for him. That's really thrown him down quite a few places.
Yeah. Unfortunate. I mean, it was exciting to see someone actually playing the gamble. It was definitely, but hasn't really worked out for him. And I guess that's exactly why we call it a gamble in this industry. You roll the dice, you play the game. Sometimes it just doesn't quite work out for you.
And that's the problem with racing sometimes. It doesn't always go your way, but if a caution comes out now, he's going to be able to get himself back a couple of laps, or back a lap at least, and he can start clawing his way back up there. One of the things about these super speedways is you can't really count yourself out until the very last lap, because you never know who's going to win these races. It takes one big shunt, and then everything's thrown on its head again.
Exactly. At the moment, our lucky dog, if the caution came out right now, would be Brett Gerrits.
Yes, so he's sort of sat in that decent position at the moment, Gerrits. Only a lap down. He's pretty much holding himself out on track quite well as too. He's just with the main pack at the moment.
Probably the best place as well to be, to hold on to that lucky dog position.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's going to start. He's going to start passing. If anyone else goes a lap down, he's got a good chance of passing him as well. So he's in a really good spot at the moment, finding himself in a good position after that little bit of a wobble earlier on in the race, which caused him to go a lap down.
Rather unlucky, actually, that didn't get called a caution either.
It's lucky for some, unlucky for others, as it goes.
Exactly.
It's one of the things with cautions sometimes. You either get lucky in them or you don't. Generally, my experience is I always get unlucky when a caution comes out. Guaranteed, I've just pitted or something like that, and then the caution will come out and completely
like
ruin
that
the race.
sometimes.
But that's my luck.
Yeah.
Always enjoyable when it happens. I never swear about that kind of thing, and I'm not bitter about it in the least. So
Racing's racing. At the end of the day, these things are part of racing, and we've got to deal with it.
And that's it. The thing about racing is generally it's miserable until you have a good race. And just other than that, it's always that gamble, right? When you're racing, it can be amazing. It's such a great feeling when you have a good race where everything goes right, you get a good position. But then when everything goes wrong, it's almost the worst feeling in the world. And you just go, why do I do this?
Why do I put myself through this torture week in, week out?
Oh, yes. It's a common question a lot of these guys are asking. So Joshua Carroll-Walden's doing pretty well at the moment. He's just snuck himself up on the back of Jason Martin, so he's sitting in a fantastic position at the moment as well. He's made himself up 14 positions so far. A really good drive from him. Well, that's been his MO for the last season. Last year, he had a relatively good start, but he got really strong through the end of the season, and then as we got towards the chase, he started really coming up well and getting that win. JCW is always there or thereabouts. He's a bit like Dave Douglas in that respect. He always keeps up in the sort of top end of the pack, keeps his nose clean, and he's always sniffing for a win. You can't discount him at all. But this season as well, he's not running on his own, of course, because he's with JP Simspeed, and that's really going to help him out and do a lot for him this year, because having teammates, having people to work with is really going to help him out.
Next closest teammate, unfortunately, in this race at the moment is Ed Foster, all the way down in 14th, but seems like he seems to be holding his own. Maybe he's got a few friends towards the front from previous seasons, though.
Yeah, he's currently sitting in 14th, which isn't the worst position to be in. It's not... Generally, you don't want to be sitting too far down a train of cars, because that's when you can get caught out in a crash, of course. But Edward Foster has also just finished a grueling endurance race as well, so he is going to be absolutely very tired after this one.
Definitely.
And it's a thing that people sort of discount as well with sim racing and real world racing. In fact, it is such a physical sport. As we've got Gertitz coming into the pit lane now. He's just broken off from that. Gertitz?
I think it might have been the number 9. No? I think it might have been our early leader. It's Daniel Stevens. I think that might have been
Daniel Stevens. Yes, Daniel Stevens coming into the pit lane. So running up front for that long time has really cost him on fuel, and he's having to make a green flag stop. So a little bit of ahead of schedule, because I was just trying to work that out in my head. They're getting towards the
32 laps. That is.
Yeah, only a 32 lap stint for him. So he's really not done too well in that one. Maybe the fuel's just coming up a little bit longer for these guys. So we saw that we did see Matt Allison making a really good run of around about 40 or so laps. So he did manage to sort of eke it out a little bit. But obviously, running at the front of the field so long, Daniel Stevens has just run out of fuel and he's had to pit. And he's going to be not so happy about that one, I'm sure, because that's really going to throw him out of position for the moment.
May see the likes of Jason Martin and Matthew Sherlock in options again as well, because those two have also been running right at the front of the pack, leading.
They have. They've led a few less laps than some of the other guys. They were switching around position on that outside line quite a lot. So I reckon they'll be able to go about 2 or 3 laps longer, but I expect to see them in the next couple of laps for sure. We're going to start seeing those green flag pit stops coming into action now. And this is where the danger really stands in, because the pit entry at Daytona can be very slippery. When you're coming in at race speed, it can really catch you out.
We could actually see a caution caused in the pit lane here.
And a caution is going to be, looks like it may be caused, as some people have gone around into the wall. Just trying to have a look, see who that was.
Ryan and Hamish Gallagher.
Ryan MacArthur and Hamish Gallagher, yeah, and it's remained green. So, again, we've long stints of amazing green flag racing here for somehow. Just going back to have a quick look at that one. It looks like Ryan MacArthur just came down unseen and just clipped the front of Gallagher. So, bit of an incident there, and those two are not going to be too happy about that.
Daniel Stevens is about to lose a lap here. Just pulling back past the leaders.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have liked to have seen a caution come out there. That could have helped him out a little bit. But now he's getting sort of swallowed up by the rest of the pack now. So he's going to have to try and slot himself into this tail of cars. And the only open spot I can really see is there is a car currently on the outside just in front of Edward Foster.
Might be able to hold on to the 7, yeah.
Yeah, the number 7 of Lindsay Hobbs is sort of sitting out there quite well at the moment. But really, the only other gap out there is it's sort of just in front of Edward Foster, just around the Illusion cars. And yeah, he's just sliding himself in there, just behind Stephen Williams.
The other option he has is his teammates not too far back there. Brett. Well.
Yeah, he's just slot himself in between the Illusion cars there. So he's got himself in a relatively good spot. He's managed to get himself into that leading pack. So he's, you know, being a lap down there, that's not going to help. But he's going to have the wave around.
Green, it might actually not be terrible if he holds on to the pack as well.
No, he's not really going to lose many positions where he's sitting if this remains green. If everybody else has to make a green flag pit stop, he's going to be pretty happy about that, because he's going to be people like Jason Martin and Skurlock are going to need to pit a little bit sooner. Even I think Dave Douglas might have to stop a little bit sooner than some of the other guys. So he'll just have a couple of extra laps running in this nice big long pack. So he might be able to get a little bit of extra speed in there.
I think we may see a few people come to pit road this time, because they've all formed one long line here. So possibly some sort of gentleman's agreement there that they've all formed one line before the pit.
Yeah, these guys they tend to work out well in that respect and know what they're doing. And we do see Jason Martin sliding down. We see the Mitch Motorsport cars coming down along with the DPR racing cars as well. Joshua Carroll and Foster stayed out, but a fair few others are coming in. So we've got a big group of cars coming into the pits. And that includes a lot of Mitch Motorsport, Illusion cars, things like that. So we'll see how these all go out there.
The second packs also had a lot come in as well.
And this is where those little incidents can happen and things can go wrong for people. So see how that runs out. It looks like everybody's having a relatively clean stop. Nobody's managed to lose it in the pits, which is good. Jason Martin has a very good stop and gets out sort of in the lead of the cars. Let's see how Daniel Stevens goes for this, because it's going to be interesting to see where he slots into the rest of these guys now that he's had that lap out as well. Of course,
he's on the back stretch coming into 3 at the moment.
Holding in there quite well, so I think he's going to start slotting in sort of around or thereabouts of those guys. Jason Martin's got out getting up to speed now for sure. He is ahead of Daniel Stevens, so he did lose a few positions from that one, but it wasn't too disastrous.
Looks like Daniel's about 40 seconds back from timing screen.
Yeah, he's just sitting behind Lindsay Hobbs at the moment. Gonna wait for it all to start
Got
shaking
Matt
out a
Hunter
bit.
behind him, pushing him. So not out on his own.
Gonna be handy.
The next car is Josh Carroll-Walden, who's just come out of the pit lane.
Yeah, we've got those cars coming out now. So Foster, Carol Walden, Stephen Williams. It looks like they've worked out well. We'll see how they go once they're back up to speed, because of course we've got all the different cars in different positions now. And this is almost like throwing dice to see where you come out now. It's a bit of a
throwing stones to the wind or something like that?
pretty much, yeah. It does throw things out a little bit, but Jason Martin has remained in the lead, I think, so it's all starting to shake out now and get back into position. Neil Pearson's actually sitting just behind Martin at the moment, so that worked out quite well for him. He's given him a handful of positions. Skurlock's there as well, Dave Douglas, Danny G.
Done quite well out of that. It's actually Edward Foster, who's come up into 7th place, who about 14th cycle, 7th place.
He's done very well to crawl up there. And another guy that's done extremely well is James Robbie as well. James Robbie has climbed up 26 positions after all those pit stops have shaken out.
Has he made a pit yet? Or
he's pitted twice now, so he's on there on pace now. So he's really worked a fantastic job. So fantastic effort by him, and he's got himself up into that lead pack now. So this is what we say at Daytona, you can't count yourself out until the end, and he's done a fantastic job of getting himself back into play here.
Definitely done a good job there. We're down the first quarter of the race now.
Yeah, first quarter's out the way, so only just under 140 laps to go now, so not too long.
One thing that's really surprised me out of this first sort of 60 laps, we'll say, one caution.
Yeah, that is a pretty decent thing to have at Daytona. All this green flag running is what we love to see, and it is great to see.
Yeah, when you consider the chaos that we had in the first two Speed Weeks races with the truck race and the Thunder race, it's a bit of a stark contrast.
It does shake out a bit here. One of the big things for that, though, is it is a long race, of course. The 200 is, almost 100 laps longer than those other races. So it's a bit of an endurance race here. It's a much longer race, so people tend to not take too many risks early on, because you can't win a race in the first lap, but you can sure as heck lose one.
Definitely.
So we are definitely seeing that. People just not risking too much. We have got lucky as well with the fact that that the caution wasn't thrown out for those spins, because we had two big spins during that first stint, but we didn't get any caution flags out, which was nice to see.
I believe that's possibly because it was off the track. They went straight to the infield. Triggered the game's mechanics.
No, sometimes it won't trigger it if it is that situation. We had that in the duel actually, where Josh Micklemore and Foster got together. The caution wasn't thrown out for that one. Foster managed to do a bit of rally cross across the infield of Daytona, across the front straight.
Well, there is a rally cross circuit on the infield of Daytona.
Yeah, that's it. It's he was just carrying on that part of it, and he did quite well to finish where he finished, considering he took a bit of a shortcut across the grass. Unfortunately, Micklemore was not quite so lucky because he speared it into the pit lane and ended up just killing his engine almost straight away. So,
unfortunate.
A bit of a shame there. Michael Cracknell's doing quite well. He's currently the first car a lap down. I think on my screen for the moment.
Yeah, he's right side by side with Brett Gerrard's, also a lap down. No, Brett's 2 laps down. Sorry.
Yeah, so he's currently racing with Norman Clark, who's a little bit further behind him at the moment. He's sort of just racing with a couple of guys a bit further up from him, but he's missing the whole front end of his car. So he's doing very well considering the amount of well, that car is not exactly aerodynamic anymore.
No, definitely not. And what it'll also be is that if he falls out of the draft, he's going to struggle a lot more than if he didn't have the damage. Whereas if he sticks with someone the whole time in the draft, it may negate the fact that he has that much aero damage to the car as well.
It's going to help him out quite a lot. Also, the other unexpected thing I imagine is also going to mean that the car doesn't heat up that much. It's got quite a lot of cooling now on the front of that car, so that's going to help out a little bit running in pack racing.
However, if he have any contact to the front end, there isn't as much protection there either. So any kind of contact there is going to cause a lot more damage than if it has that protection.
Yes, the protection at the front now consists of a radiator, which is not the thing you want to go throwing into the back of another car. It tends to cause a bit of damage.
Some water temp issues. That all that good cooling we thought about before.
It kind of goes the opposite way sometimes. But it seems he's going quite well at the moment. Seems the car it's not got any cooling issues from what we can see, because it's running nice and fast, and he's been running in that
line as well.
Yeah, he's in that front pack as well, so he's doing a fantastic job at the moment. So good drive on his behalf. And as I say, keeping up in that sort of lucky dog spot is not a bad place to be sometimes.
Unfortunately, we'll update on Matt Allison after that little gamble he had before. He's now a lap down, unfortunately.
He is. He's just sitting behind Norman Clark at the moment in the actual race part of things, but he is quite a bit down on time.
In Jason's little pack as well. Best part of 17.
Yeah. So it could be worse for him. It's it's still not over for sure, but it's I think maybe he just got a bit of a penalty as he came into the pit lane, because it was a very, very long stop for him.
And he could possibly have also had an issue damage early on that we didn't know about, that could why he stayed out. But there's a lot of variables there that we just don't know.
No, sometimes there are many things that we don't know. A lot more things that I don't know generally, but it could have been a number of things. But he's currently out there. He's only made the one stop at the moment, so he's currently on 24 laps of the stint. So doing quite well at the moment. People like Michael Cracknell are pretty much on the same strategy as him, though. Similar stint lengths for those guys. So they're kind of running for that sort of lucky dog spot at the moment. They're racing for that lucky dog position. As we see one of the Illusion cars, they're just trying to get out there. Dave Douglas trying to get out and get on the back of one of his Illusion teammates with Riley Curtis in the 93 to try and form an outside line maybe, and try and sort of get a second line forming up here, not just being in a single line formation.
What it does mean now is that Michael Cracknell now has to race for that lucky dog now. He's got those two there.
Yes, it's almost the second half of the race for the second part of the field. There's all racing going on. It's always fun with that. Mirko Dortnak's climbing his way up there as well, and he's just got a little bit high at the moment. But I think he might be trying to get onto the back of of some of his Illusion teammates. So he's also in that sort of that pack for the lucky dog spot. He's going to be trying his best to get up there too.
These two can, and even if they can just hold on to the back of this pack, it might not hurt them too badly to be just about one lap down. If they time their pit cycle right, they may be able to get the wave around as well.
Yeah, they could work it out quite well here. And
under caution, that is.
Yeah. Things could definitely work out quite well for them. And it's a nice position to be in for, obviously you don't want to be a lap down, but if you are the first person to lap down, it's not the worst things. So as we go through the race, we're on lap number 67 now, so we're 70 laps into the 500. Jason Martin is our leader with Michael Scarlett behind him. Dave Douglas sitting behind him. Then we have Danny G, Neil Pearson, James Roby, Edward Foster, Stephen Williams, Daniel Stevens, Joshua Carroll-Walden in 10th place, and that's our top 10 at the moment. We've got that big long line formed up with those guys as well, so we've got a nice big pack formed up here. Everybody's just running single file at the moment. It's a bit like sort of it's that sort of single file ant line that you sometimes see.
A couple of
No,
cars have been shaping to go for that second line, but just no one else is there to support it hard.
yeah, people are starting to want to get that, and they're going to start to want to get it. Sort of, I imagine we're going to see more people try and push for it in about 5 laps or so as it
Ed
starts to get.
Foster's jumped out into that second group, sorry. Just as we were talking about it.
He's jumped out there with, and he's jumped back into the single file line, but I think he's trying to get some people to come with him as well. So
Riley and Marco are the ones behind him that I think he's trying to get them to come with him. Although he does have his teammate in front of him there, Norman Clark. He may be talking to try and get them to go for that second lane.
Trying to get those positions in there, and we can also see down the back straight, everybody's starting to stagger a little bit. So I think temperatures might be coming into play here as well. Obviously, being in the daytime here, it is a lot hotter than it is at night, which we saw for the duel. So air temperature does start to become a problem. It's about 29 degrees at the moment out there for
Not
the
a
air
problem
temperature.
for Michael Cracknell though.
no, he's got a fantastic cooling system going on at the moment. But everybody else out there, because obviously they tape up their cars, you put a bit of tape on the front, 100 mph tape, and make it a little bit less draggy, so you can go faster in a straight line, obviously. But what that does is it means you get less cooling, and that's when problems start to occur. As you go on in this race, people are starting to heat up, the engines start to heat up, and when you're running in a single file pack, all of that hot air from the car in front of you is going into your engine, and then it just gets passed down and down the line, and it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter as it goes. So we're starting to see that second line form up now.
Just on, I'm wondering if that bottom line as well is trying to save a lot of fuel, because James Robbie then was sitting about 7th or 8th in the pack, and he ducked out and he just passed about 4 or 5 cars on his own. I'm starting to think possibly there could be quite a bit of fuel saving going on as well.
Well, they are running a fair bit slower than they were running in the earlier start of the race. We're about 10 kilometres down on the early pace. So I imagine everybody's starting to sort of ease out the engine a little bit, right? Use a little bit, less fuel.
And that also comes back to temperatures as well. Yes. Rolling out of the throttle a bit, you're not
exactly, you're not pushing the engine as hard. There's a few less explosions happening inside your cylinders, which means it gets a bit cooler, and it just helps out a bit with that. And of course, some other people are going to want to try and get into that second line, and they're going to be able to get up there pretty quickly while these guys are slowing down. Jason Martin is starting to speed up now, though. He's just got about he was running at about 302 kilometers per hour those last few laps, and he's coming up to about 310 now. So he's starting to speed up a little bit, because I think he's noticed that second line forming.
Actually, shocked a lot of them into that position and forced their hand a bit.
Yes. So that second line started to form, but it is starting to drop back a little bit now. Have to see how they go out there. Of course, James Robbie is starting to lead it, but he's got a few cars starting to get behind him now. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and just jump out there and hope people will follow you. And when they do, it works out quite well, and it seems to be working out relatively well in their favour at the moment. That high line is still working quite well, especially with all these lead cars having to try and to sort of dart out of the draft to get a bit more air on them and having to lift out a little bit.
Ed Foster just pulls back in line there as well, so it seems like they've sort of bailed a bit on that outside line.
But it has managed to get them a couple of positions up, so not too bad for them. They've managed to work their way up a few positions in the pack, so they're no longer at the back of the pack, they're now a little bit further at the front of it as well, which they're going to be pretty chuffed about, I'm sure.
Looks like the lead pack is coming up on another little pack of cars as well, about a corner behind them.
Trying to catch up to some of the other packs out there, and there are a few forming. There are a few packs working out at the moment. as these cars go around, they start to lose positions and lose places. You've got sort of Lindsay Hobbs and Bradley Kemp running together at the moment as well, trying to get their own little pack forming, and I think they might be just ahead of them at the moment. Just look down in the leaderboard. So yeah, they're just a little bit further ahead of some of the other pack guys of Chris Purnell. So Chris Purnell's got another decent patch with Josh Micklemore, Raymond Yeager, Phil Otto, and Jason Hartigan as well. They're running sort of about half a lap behind these guys, so they're just trying to catch up, trying to get into a position where they can start closing in a bit and sort of hoping for that caution to come out. James Roby's still on the outside, he's still sitting up there, and he's sort of taking advantage a little bit of the side draft at them. He's trying to get the cars forming on that outside line, as we see. Michael Cracknell coming into the pit lane, and he spins it around, and he's gone right around in his pit box. He's going to have to reverse and get the car back into gear and get it into the pit lane there. So unfortunate stop for him. And not having the best day out there today for sure. Just going around from the pit lane, but it just shows how dangerous it can be getting into that pit lane. It is very slippery out there.
The last pit stops for a lot of them were around flat 55. About halfway through the fuel load at the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of drivers out there that are on some longest. Well, I imagine they're going to start coming in, but a lot of people start to come in now. So people like Matt Allison and all of those guys have pitted again, coming in for their second stops and sort of doing a couple of extra pit stops and things like that. Because obviously
Matt's was last pit stop was lap 39, so he's really stretching it.
And you can just see there Michael Cracknell just coming out, just forming back onto the tail of this lead pack as well. Lost a bit of time with that error in pit lane, but Michael Cracknell just managed to sort of get back out just behind these guys, but he is quite far behind. He's going to really have to work to try and get back onto the tail of this pack. But Jason Martin's been leading quite a while now, and that's not going to be helping his fuel figures. He's currently done 23 laps of a stint, so he's sort of just over halfway, so he's probably got about 10 more laps of fuel on board.
I think Daniel Stevens went 32 on his tank when he was leading the whole run, so...
Yes, and Daniel Stevens now is currently on 29 of his stint, so he's sort of down there in a bit of a pack himself. So he's going to be hoping to get some support, but he is currently sort of leading his own little pack again, so his fuel numbers are going to start to struggle, and he's going to have to pit again, I think, very shortly. So it's not working too well for Daniel Stevens at the moment. Struggling a little bit out there and got himself out of sequence with everybody else.
I wonder if Jason has to pit early. I wonder if the Mitch Motorsport guys will come with him.
I would imagine they would. They're going to want to try and keep their pack together. Obviously, their main goal would probably be connecting up with Josh Micklemore, who is a bit further away. He's currently sitting in the pack with Chris Purnell. So he's getting dragged along with Chris Purnell, but they're sort of half a lap away from each other. So it's going to make things a bit harder for those guys. And they're going to want to try and hook up at some stage in this race. Probably use a caution to try and orchestrate something to get closer.
Yeah, I think everyone has got the C word on their lips right now.
Yes, and they are going to be hoping for it for sure. And as this goes on as well, people are going to start getting a little bit tired. Concentration starts to fade. Obviously, the cars change a bit as well. As you've got low fuel loads, the car gets a bit light in some areas. Fuel as well becomes a problem, and you sometimes lose it.
Matt Allison has just come out off pit road there as well. Unfortunately, he's run out of fuel there. That's a pit.
Yeah, he was running. Yeah, he's coming for his third stop now. So yeah, he's been sort of drawing out as much as he can. But not much he can do, unfortunately. It's not worked out in his favour for sure. I think, unfortunately, that penalty he picked up really didn't help him.
when most people's pit laps have been around about 1:20, his was I think 2:40, which 1:20 is a long time to lose around Daytona.
It is. It's you know, it's such a weird thing in motorsport. People, when you talk about minutes, such a long time in a motorsport race. Um, Seconds are the important thing. So currently, um, our top our top 7 cars are within a second of each other. Less than a second, 3/4 of a second of each other, and that's from Jason Martin to Edward Foster. And that is such a minute piece of time on these ovals because it goes so quickly. If you lose a second in this race, you find yourself, almost a quarter of a lap down. It does make a big difference.
But if
Obviously,
you can find a second somewhere, that's incredible. Like that's on the converse. If you can find that time, that's just as good in some cases.
if you can find time like that and manage to keep your car in good condition, that's where you're going to start winning races. So we just see one of the MFR guys pulling out of the main pack there and coming into the pit lane. So that will be Daniel Stevens. He's going to come in for his pit stop. So he managed 34 laps on that stint.
I think Tristan and Matthew have also come in there as well. Chloe and Hotch.
So we're going to start seeing those green flag pit stops happening once more. We've probably got another 2 to 3 laps on the leaders. Jason Martin's going to have about a lap less fuel than everybody else. So expect to see the pack sort of come in. The first 3 or 4 cars will probably come in all together, and you might see people like imagine Neil Pearson down. So everybody from Neil Pearson, Edward Foster, Stephen Williams, they might try and stay out there for one more lap. Excuse me, and see if they can get a little bit of speed and help themselves out for later and regroup on
the cars that are a lap down could also possibly stay out, hoping that in that cycle there may be a caution there.
Yeah, you've got to try that sometimes, but obviously it doesn't always work in your favour. Currently, Brett Garrett's is the first car out. Sorry, Riley Curtis is out there, and he's the first car a lap down.
I believe Daniel Stevens just fell down a lap as well. It hasn't updated yet. I don't.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the sort of part for those guys, and that will start playing into there. But
yes,
Riley Curtis, yeah, he's just dropped that lap down, but he's just made a stop, so it's not so dire for him. Obviously, Riley Curtis, Norman Clark, those guys are pretty much on the end of their stint. They're on about lap 30 of their stint now. So they're going to have to make a stop pretty soon. And that's sort of, you'd love to be able to stay out there an extra couple of laps when you're a lap down, but unfortunately the fuel gods don't always allow it.
But conversely, if you are right at the back of the pack and just drafting the whole time, it may be that just enough and up that extra lap or two. But at the end of the day, may be what gives you that lap back.
Exactly. It can really save you in those times. So you see Jason Martin going past the 54 there. So he's sort of just getting past a few more lapped cars. So Matthew Flirt there just passing him, and those guys are going to slot into position. I think we're probably going to see Jason Martin coming in very soon.
Those front three have just left the top line out to dry a little bit there.
Yeah, they're sort of moving into position. It looks like with the movement of the cars, it looks like they're just getting ready to sort of come into the pit lane. So I think we're going to see our leaders coming in maybe not this lap, but the next lap. We'll see where this goes. Of course, dropping a little bit earlier sometimes.
I was going to say, Daniel, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Sorry, buddy.
Danny G.
Danny G.
Yeah,
he's just moved down to the bottom lane there, so I'm wondering if the Mitch Motorsport guys are just planning that possibly in the next lap or two to dive down.
Yeah, I can't see Jason Martin going too much longer on this stint. He's now on lap 32 of this stint, so he's going to be running very low on fuel. So I reckon these guys are going to come in on this lap.
He's led the whole stint, I think.
Pretty much, yeah. So it gives us a good idea on fuel numbers for people that are leading a pack. So it's about 32 to 33 laps that people can do on a full tank with leading a stint, of course. So it goes around for another lap here, so like 33 of that stint. So he's doing quite well at the moment. But those cars that are running a bit further down, people like Phil Otto, people like trying to look in the actual pack where they are. Um, Josh Micklemore's, sorry, I had my bit down the wrong way. People like Edward Foster, Neil Pearson, Stephen Williams, those guys are going to start getting into the good spots for maybe going an extra lap or two, because they will have that fuel advantage from the draft.
Ed's last pit stop, Ed Foster, he went an extra lap in the last stint. He went to lap 56 than a lot of others. That means he's got, and being that he's been drafting the whole time, he may be able to go out to lap 90 possibly.
Yeah, he's got two cars around him as well with Stephen Williams and Joshua Carroll-Walden. JCW there is also pitted at the same time. So those guys are running the same fuel load, so they'll be able to run in a little micro pack of their own and hopefully get a little bit of speed. And we might see them getting up a couple of positions once all the pit stops shake out.
Yeah. JP guys will want to try and keep themselves together under their pits, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to come down to how it all shakes out in the end.
Easier said than done sometimes. It's
definitely.
Motorsport is very easy in principle. When you're talking about it and making plans, it can be very easy. But when it's actually happening on a live racetrack, that's when it becomes very, very hard. And we see Jason Martin coming in, and he's bringing in Danny G. So only 3 of the front guys are actually stopping. I think James Roby's as well in that little pit stop group for them. So only 3 of the top guys come in, and that could affect them a little bit. If those guys that have stayed out can manage to make an extra couple of laps on this stint, they could get themselves a little bit of an extra lead on those guys and start getting some good positions up for the race. So Gerlock now leads with Dave Douglas behind him.
Don't see Gerlock going much longer. He's been just in behind Martin the whole time. He pitted on the same lap as Martin last time. So being second, I don't see him going a hell of a lot longer than maybe a lap or 2 more.
Gerlock can be quite good on his fuel sometimes, but no, he is coming in now. Yeah. So here the rest of them come.
Big pack.
So Foster does stay out though. The majority of everybody else has come in for that one. So Foster's stayed out, and he's sort of out there on his own now for a bit of that sort of bit of drive. He's sort of he's got a few cars in front of him. He's got a couple of middle finger racing cars in front of him. That's going to help him out with the draft. So he's not completely hung out to dry. And he's got
Norman Clark as well there, a teammate, not that far behind either.
Yeah, so those guys can work a little bit of a pack. Foster might be able to get a little bit longer on that. I think JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden's going to be starting to climb up to him as well. As all the guys come out of the pack, Michael Skurlock has managed to keep the lead with Dave Douglas behind him. So we'll see where this all shakes out once it all works out. So Foster's just come into the pits now. So he managed to make it 2 laps longer than Jason Martin, but he was at the back of that pack. So it's going to be interesting to see where all these guys come out now and how it all fixes up for the stop.
Yeah, I think Jason Martin's not quite got to the lead there, I don't think. Oh no, hang on, sorry, yes he has.
Yeah, so he's got Danny G right behind him, and they're pushing pretty hard. Danny G's just right on his bumper, giving him a nice bit of a push down those straights, giving him a little bit of extra speed, and then Danny G, of course, is getting a little bit of extra speed from that.
James Robbie's pulled a very good strategy out of that one. He's popped himself into just in front of Michael Skurlock, actually.
It worked out quite well, and of course, James Robbie was one of those guys that came in with Martin and Danny G, so it seemed that early stop worked out quite well for them. So Jason Martin's just starting to catch up to Foster now. So Foster's just come out, and he's getting up to speed. He's just going to get up to speed just behind Danny G and Jason Martin.
From that little twin pack there, he's just picked up then.
Yeah, it could help him out. If he can get on the back of Danny G now and actually start clawing his way up there, he's going to make some good positions. He's just on the outside of that draft, so he's just want to get a little bit closer. He's sort of at a decent speed now. Everything's up to speed, and this could help him get up there. So
It'd be
He's
another
lost.
big gain there as well.
Yeah, he's lost the advantage of the draft from the Mitch Motorsport boys, but there are a couple of cars a lap down behind, in front of him now, and that's going to help him out a little bit. Just drag him up there as the rest of the pack starts catching up with Skurlock and all the others. So Foster did make a few positions there, which is good. James Roby as well. He's still sitting up there. He's in 7th now. He's made 25 positions from the start of the race, so fantastic job for him.
Definitely.
And all through this as well, we've got guys starting to climb up as well. You know, not been making much noise through this race, but you've got Chris Purnell and Josh Mickelmore. Those guys have stopped, and they're now up in 11th and 12th place.
Michael Skurlock's back in the lane.
Oh, that is not good for Skurlock. Possibly a penalty there for him, or it could have been an issue with fueling or something like that, maybe. He's going to be not so happy about that one because that's going to really cost him a lot of time. Running up in that front pack where he was, that was a really good position for him. So, not going to be happy about that one.
He's up on. He's getting tyres, so
Yeah, so he's up on the jack, so he's getting a full service. So, not sure what's going on there for him. Maybe it was just a bit of an issue with things getting refueled or something. So, that's really going to cost Skurlock a lot of time.
Fallen a lap down there. Jason Martin's just got by.
Yeah, that's not good for Skurlock. He's going to be a bit annoyed about that one for sure. But as we say, Daytona can be a strange mistress sometimes. Things can work out better as it goes on. We'll see how that one goes. Yeah. You never know how it's going to go. Got Dave Douglas now just in front of Foster. He's managed to climb his way up there. It looks like Dave Douglas has got a bit of damage on the front of his car, actually.
I think he might have got caught up in that first initial portion of a lot of other people. A little bit of front end damage.
Yeah. No, I think it's actually a little bit earlier than that. I'm just going back to have a look, and I think he's actually got into the back of Skurlock. Because the car looked nice and clean, so I'm just going to have a look at that again.
He's got a bit of tail damage as well, so if he's got to the back of Skurlock, someone's got to the back of him as well.
Yeah, so it looks like Skurlock just got a little bit loose. That's why Skurlock stopped. Skurlock got loose with one of the other Illusion cars behind him. I think it might have been Mirko Dorton. I didn't see it properly there. Just trying to have a look through as I go through the actual field there. But one of the other Illusion cars got into the back of Dave Douglas behind him. And that's why Skurlock stopped. Skurlock got hit in the back by Dave Douglas. Not his fault. He was in a bit of a sandwich there between two of his teammates, and it looked like Skurlock just lost the rear end slightly, and those three have got into each other, and that's why Skurlock stopped, because he was going sort of towards the pit lane a little bit out of control, and he just decided to go straight in there. So that solves that problem. We now know what happened there, but that's also caused some damage to the front of Dave Douglas's car. But he's being pushed up to the front now. Ed Foster behind him. That's right, Riley Curtis behind him, sorry.
Sorry, Ed Foster's down on the bottom lane there.
These new paint schemes are throwing me out already. But yeah, they're sort of trying to push their way up there.
I'm a little bit...
It doesn't make it easy when people change their paint colours. It throws us out a little bit. But of course, big changes this season. There's a lot of team changes as well. Of course, we used to see Riley Curtis, Dave Douglas and Edward Foster all together in the RCD team. So used to them guys being teammates. It's a very different season for those guys now.
Yes.
So that's throwing things out a little bit. But they know how to work together, and that's one of the keys for this track, is working together.
Definitely. What it has done is it's split up the Illusion guys a little bit as well. Again, losing that team connection can often hurt you in these hits. Come the end of the race, you're looking for someone to draft with, they're gone.
Yeah, throw you out. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the guys that are sort of unfortunately no longer in this race. We've lost Michael Cracknell, Simon Sirocco, Ryan Bull and Michael Lasher. Unfortunately, those guys are out of the race. I was just having a quick look at Michael Skurlock's car as well, and it looks like he's jumped out of that one. So we might be seeing Skurlock out of this race as well, unfortunately. I'm just having a little bit of a look through the field as well, just for seeing how newcomers are going. Currently, the best of the sort of new drivers, the rookies, Lindsay Hobbs currently in 13th place. So the virtual motorsport mentor rookie of this race so far is Lindsay Hobbs, sitting up there doing a fantastic job. Sitting in a really good position, managing 13th place,
I
keeping
think he may
relatively.
actually be in 12th. At the moment, it just hasn't updated properly.
Yeah, just got ahead of Raymond Jaeger, so they've just swapped positions. So, yeah, racing with Jaeger there, not a bad person to race with. Jaeger's got a lot of experience as well.
Definitely. Looks
So,
like they're also getting caught up by the lead pack. Possibly may end up lap very soon. Be unfortunate, but a bit like that at the moment. Only 13 cars on the lead lap.
yeah, we're starting to run out of lead cars on that lead lap. It is starting to get that way. Uh, we have got that sort of second pack formed with Purnell, but that's starting to get a little bit sort of meager in its cars. Currently, it's just Chris Purnell, Josh Micklemore, and there's also, I think, Matt Allison in that group with one of the DPR guys as well. So um, Phil Otto in that sort of little stream of cars, but only 4 cars in that sort of secondary pack at the moment. That's not going to be helping them too much. They're going to want to try and get some speed up. So could be a little bit troublesome for those guys.
Possibly end up with less than 10 cars on the lead lap if
Very possible. I mean, with this race having such a long green period, I mean, look, we've been green since lap 16. Don't want to curse it, of course, but
no,
of course now I've put the curse of the commentator on there. Curse of the commentator's now on it, so no doubt a giant cat will run across the track and cause caution. But
definitely.
it's got to happen. But yeah, it's with this sort of green flag running, it's really helped those leaders just get up such a lead, really making
Like
a lot of the field drop apart.
Lindsay Hobbs and Raymond Jaeger have just dropped off the lead lap there.
And they're going to try and drop in on the back of this train as well. So we'll probably see Lindsay Hobbs drop down and get into that sort of place just behind
Jason.
Yeah, Jason Hardigan, and try and slot in, but it looks like Jaeger's managed to drop down first and get that position back. Nice little move by Raymond Jaeger there. As I said, an
Very
experienced
smart.
driver and very good at what he can do. So
And
Raymond Jaeger just
unfortunate for the rookies there. That's the sort of stuff that you don't quite sort of pick up for a few seasons anyway.
absolutely, and that's the thing is, look, with oval racing, it is very different to what you have on road racing, and in this kind of thing, the draft, the pack racing, you don't get that in other forms of sport. You know, you might get a little bit of Monza, especially classic Monza, but definitely not Monza today. But you don't really get pack racing like this on any other track, and it's something you have to really get used to. So it looks like Michael Skurlock has dropped out this race as well, so we've lost everybody down from 29th position onwards. So shame to lose Michael Skurlock. Of course, got the win in the duel, got the pole position, but sometimes it's the way. It doesn't matter where you start at Daytona, because it's just all about the finish, and did not go too well for Skurlock there. So one of the big names dropping out for sure.
Yeah, he's just over there. I didn't notice that. Sorry.
All good. Keeping an eye on all these things is the hard thing of the commentator.
Definitely more difficult than I thought it would be, but I'm enjoying it. So it's good to see some really good hard racing.
Yeah, we've got a good race for the first race on JP Simshed, the Simshed Broadcasting. So it's nice to have a good clean race as well. It's sometimes a bit hard here on Daytona because it is such a hard track. When you race it for a couple of laps, if you're only doing a 20-lap race at Daytona, you don't get the full full idea of how hard it is here. You know, when you're doing these long runs, when you're doing 200 laps, so 200 miles here at Daytona, it can really throw you out, and it is a lot of laps, and get the car changing a lot.
Definitely.
And you know, a lot of the time you can just keep flat at Daytona. You don't lift off the pedal at all. But when you're in these big packs, when you've got a 10, 15 car strong pack, as you're getting towards the end of that pack, you're almost lifting off through the whole lap.
And that's a lot where we talk about fuel saving through the packs. It's a lot to do with lifting off a little bit as you're sort of rolling through the pack as well.
And learning how to lift off as well is another thing. It sounds easy, just put your foot off the fuel, but if you take it off too much, you're going to lose speed. If you put it back on too quickly, you might get a little bit too much speed and go into the back of something else. You just got to get that throttle pedal just set to the right amount. And these are all fine little skills that you learn over the seasons, and it's not an easy thing to do. As I say, it does take a lot of experience and it's a lot of skill to get used to this kind of racing.
Definitely. I think even the truck race, which was 150 miles with 70 laps, that was hard enough for a lot of rookies. 70 laps is still a long time around here, but then you just amp it up even more when you add another 130 laps, and it becomes a difficult races.
Yeah, it is extremely tiring as well. A lot of these guys have, very good direct force wheel drives. The, the equipment these guys use, it does take it out of you. Even just if you get yourself a relatively cheap Logitech G27 wheel, the force feedback on there, it does tire you out. It really pulls on your arms. It does make you get tired over a race period. It's a good way of getting some arm exercise if you ever need it. But
Definitely, if you missed arm day, go and do a race around Daytona for 200 laps.
it really throws you out. I was actually talking to Jonathan Hancock before the race, and he was just saying how different it is for him. He's more experienced on road racing, and he was saying of course, when you're on the banks and you've got a car beside you, all the buffeting he's getting in with his direct force wheel, causing a lot of movement. It's causing him to have to actually really grip onto it, and he didn't realise how physical it was.
Even with some of the force feedback wheels, it's quite a lot of, you don't realize how much of the side draft
And
and
we've got a
also
caution. We've got a caution as one of the cars has gone round. Trying to quickly go through and have a look at that. It was one of the black cars, so it does narrow it down a little bit.
could it possibly been Tristan Koch? He's running quite slowly here.
I think it was Tristan Koch,
And
and I think collected a couple of other people. So
Bradley Kemp might have possibly also involved there as well.
yeah, I think it was Bradley Kemp and Tristan Koch there. Just going back to have a little bit of a look at that.
Tristan's pit under yellow. So definitely had a bit of damage there, because otherwise possibly wouldn't have pitted under yellow there.
So Bradley Kemp tried to go free wide and just caught Tristan Koch. A little bit of inexperience there maybe for Bradley Kemp. Just trying to go free wide into the final, into turns 3 and 4. Just caught him out. And yeah, a real shame for him. Real shame for those guys. That's going to cost them quite a bit. But this has given everybody a bit of a caution to reset, take a breath, and actually come in. And it's going to pretty much get everybody on the same strategy as well.
Well, we talked about it being tough and big long stints like that. They just did, I think it was 80 laps, no caution, which is longer than the other two races that we've had so far.
Yes.
It's so for a lot of the guys, it'll be a much needed caution this one.
Yeah,
And
to give you an
because it,
idea.
sorry,
And we're coming into pits now, so we're going to see the majority of cars pitting, and of course all the lap cars are going to go round for another little lap before they pit. Of course, the leaders come in first, and see how this all goes. Looks like everybody's managed to pull in position quite well. Dave Douglas just tentatively coming into the pit stop there. He had to slow down a fair amount, so he's going to lose a bit of time for sure. Foster gets a really good stop actually, so he's managed to get out ahead of Danny G. Jason Martin as well, really good stop. 29.8 for Martin, 29.7 for Foster. So those guys have had fantastic stops. Danny G was a 31.2, which is again not much time, but it's enough time to lose you those positions. So it's got him down. Dave Douglas is getting a bit of a repair done as well, so he's been in this pit stop for a little bit longer. But obviously, under caution, you can afford to do that. Get a little bit of fix up to done and get a few repairs done to the car.
definitely. We may actually see, because it was quite early in the fuel window, last fuel window, a few of the lap down cars possibly stay out here because they've still got at least 15 to 20 laps of fuel left in the car. It may be worth staying at, because if you can get back onto the lead lap and there's another caution thrown not too long after, right back in this race.
Well, the old saying goes, in endurance racing, cautions breed cautions, and that can sometimes be the case. So we might see a couple of people throwing the dice here and possibly staying out a little bit longer, maybe not pitting again and trying to get back on that lead lap and try and hope for a caution earlier on. But I'm sure a fair few of them are going to pit as well.
Well,
Raymond
Ryan's
Yeager.
got the lucky dog there, so he'll definitely be pitting.
We're just having a look back at those guys. So it looks like Yeager's stayed out on this one. Got Norman Clark, a few other guys coming in. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky working out positions for a couple of laps while everything settles itself down. But yeah, a few people are going to roll the dice and see how that goes. So interesting to see who really changes it around and who doesn't.
Got Matt Hunter, Mirko Dortmark, Matthew Plowett, Brett Gray, Raymond Yeager, Jonathan Hancock, Riley Curtis have all stayed out and got the waiver around.
That's going to help them out, get some new cars on the lead lap. That's going to be really good to see. So a bit more racing on there. Oh, so that's 111 laps out the way for us. A nice long stint for your first commentating here on the ANZCAR. How are you going with that so far?
I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully it's another good second half of the race. Really good that we've finally had a bit of a caution just to catch our breaths a bit and see where it's all at.
That's it. I can actually get myself a little bit more water and
Yeah, definitely.
fix up a little bit more drink. It makes it very tricky. You know, it's a long time as well. You know, when you're racing, of course, you can't get up and grab a drink or have a little stretch, things like that, which makes it very hard, obviously. When you're commentating, you do a little bit more stretching, have a little bit of a stretch of your legs and stuff like that. But it is a long time, and it's a bit of an endurance test as well for the old voice, because you end up talking so much. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, and then also you get the moments where moment with the leader or something like that, you get a bit of a raise the voice a bit there. It's exciting, you know. We'll have those
Absolutely, yeah.
moments.
As soon as the exciting stuff happens, the old voice comes up, and then it all heck breaks loose, and yeah, it becomes quite tricky in that respect.
The lap down cars have been let through there.
That's going to give us some more cars on the lead lap. Just having a little look through, this is really going to help the Mitch Motorsport guys, because Josh Micklemore is now sitting down in 7th place. So he's just a couple of cars behind his teammates. So this is really going to help Mitch Motorsport start to group up. You've also got a couple of the Illusion cars now starting to work their way up the grid as well. So those guys are starting to get themselves into a position where they can sort of form their own little pack. You've got Chris Purnell, Steve Williams, Dave Douglas. So those guys are nice and close to each other. So they're going to be able to form their own little pack and get things running a little bit better for those. I think Mirko Dortnak's going to be relatively close to them after the Lucky Dog lap, after being waved around as well. So we've also got JP Simshed, of course, because Foster and Joshua Carroll-Walden got himself in a really good spot too. So
Norman Clarkson only is the first of the lap down as well, so he's not that far off if we get another caution either.
yeah, so they're all putting themselves in good positions at the moment, and this is where teamwork really pays off, and this is where it can become really hard for your solo drivers, for people that are running in a sort of situation. And as we go green, we're back to green flag racing. Jason Martin leads us away. Edward Foster's just on the outside line. He's just going to lose a little bit of time there. Jason does a fantastic restart, as is always the way for him. And Foster's going to drop down into that main pack, and that's going to leave James Roby out on the outside now, and put him into a position where he can actually sort of work the outside line. It looks like Illusion might be looking at trying to get that outside line working, but we'll see how that works.
So you see Ed Foster's ducked right into the bottom lane very quickly there. not trusting that outside line to do much there.
Yeah, I think he's a bit happier on that inside line.
And
He seems
also, the other one to note is he's pulled down onto the inside of the line in front of his teammate there as well. So
it's going to help those guys work together, and that's always good for your teammates. That's always a good thing to have happen. James Roby's getting a nice push from Danny Stevens as well. Daniel Stevens has worked his way back up through that pack after that early pit stop earlier on, so that's good for him. He's managed to work his way back up into these positions. But of course,
and they're all on the same fuel load as well. They're all pitted at the same point.
It's almost like the race has been neutralised there. It's almost like a restart for everything. But people like James Roby and Daniel Stevens, they're sort of not got many teammates around them, so that can make it a little bit more difficult for those guys. But the mixed motorsport boys are starting to get closer and closer. You can just see with Josh Micklemore there, just sitting behind JCW, Joshua Carroll Walden. He's almost onto the tail of his teammates. He's just got Foster and Carroll Walden between him.
Yeah.
So we're joined now for the second half of the race with Matteo. How are you going, Matt?
The second portion of Australia and New Zealand's best oval races in the Daytona 500. It's good to take over and join you tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'll be heading off, so...
Yeah, enjoy your rest, Lockie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good luck with the rest of the race, guys.
Thanks so much, Lachlan. So we've just... It's almost like a perfect point to actually jump in and swap commentators over, because the race has effectively just restarted from scratch with that caution period. It almost worked out perfectly for us on the broadcast standing. And we're back to full speed racing now.
Yeah, this is fantastic, and it's no surprise to see the likes of Jason Martin, DG, Ed Foster, Chris Purnell, JCW up the front. It's poised to be a pretty special finish.
Yeah, with less than we're 84 laps to go now. Sorry, I had to do math on the fly, and that's never a good thing for me. 84 laps to go now. We're over halfway now, and it's really the sprint to the end. Now, of course, there's still a long way to go in this race. There's still, just under sort of 200 miles left in this race, and it's not over for sure. People are going to have to start working their way up to the top, though. Start working out what they're going to do for the finish, but they've also got to keep themselves relatively clean. We're going to have about 3 or 4 more pit stops before we get to the end, and yeah, it's not over for sure. But James Roby's just getting a nice push there, and he's starting to work his way up to the front.
Yeah, well, this is what we were talking about in amongst some drivers as being the ticket of the last 100 laps or so. These guys have bought themselves a ticket to have a really good chance of winning this big race tonight, and this is generally where you'll see people really starting to be a little bit more aggressive and make some moves. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
A few more elbows put out as well.
Yeah.
A little bit more rubbing. Rubbing is racing. It's an important thing.
A couple of these guys I raced with last weekend in the Majors Daytona 500, and it was about this time when yellows and caution started coming pretty thick and fast. People started to become a little bit more impatient, because it's about now where, even though you've sat here for 2 hours waiting, it's time to start pushing towards the front, because that it's starting to get a little bit close towards the end. So we'll see what happens. You can see someone trying to create a third line on the outside, maybe getting pretty antsy, pretty keen to come in front. Looks like a middle finger racing car.
Yeah, Dan Stevens there making that third line work for him there with Purnell just behind him, leaving James Roby actually in the middle on his own. He's actually lost his drafting partners. Everybody's starting to go high there. The Illusion car's getting behind him. So they're starting to push their way forwards. We've got 3 wide racing here at Daytona on a lap. My lap 119. 3 wide is a brave thing to do here at Daytona.
It is possible, but it runs the risk of any slight movement of the wheel, any slight wobble, and you've got a 15-20 car pile up. So the 3 lines is definitely possible, but it is a lot riskier. But if you're someone like a Stevens there who needs to make it forward, then you do have to create that third line and hope that you have a little bit of tow from behind to make your way forward. So we'll see how he goes.
He's just dropping back now, just
Yeah.
to get back in the second line now. They're just realising that maybe they're pushing a little bit hard at the moment. There's still a long way to go. It's that impatience is starting to kick in, but you have to realise there's a long way to go. Of course, Stevens, he did win this race last couple of years back for the first running for the ANZCAR Cup. So he wants to get another win under his belt, but you've got Josh Micklemore there, and he's creeping his way up the field. He's done a really good job so far. He's made 19 places through this race, and he had a bit of misfortune in the duel, of course, but he's wanting to defend his win from last year, of course, with his two teammates at Mitch Motorsport in the lead on the inside line. Of course, that's going to work out well. Just go past a lapped car, just running on the high line there.
Yeah, and that always is a little bit dangerous when you do have a lapped car. It can cause a little bit of mayhem in the back if people aren't ready, but it looks like the guys are managing that quite well. Interestingly, the guy just to the left of Stevens, Stephen Williams, actually won the Daytona 500 last weekend in the Majors series. So I raced against him, ironically, and we had a really good battle, and he's sitting nicely in around 9th or 10th. So a little bit of a soft spot there. He's a very clean racer, and he's quite nice. If he was to win tonight and the Major Series Daytona 500, it'd be pretty special.
Yeah, he'll be pretty happy with that. Look, all of these guys in this sort of top 10 are capable of winning, and they have won in the past. Stephen Williams is no slouch. He's also got the backing of Illusion behind him, which I can't even count the number of cars that are in the top 10 at the moment. They've got a fair few cars up there. You've got Stephen Williams, you've got Chris Purnell up there, Dave Douglas as well. So you've got a lot of cars working with them, so they've got a good, strong hand coming towards the end of this race if they can keep those cars in position. I think they've got a couple of lapped cars as well also in the mix in that lot too. So they've got a decent hand coming for it. The Mitch Motorsport boys, of course, they're in a very good spot at the moment, running where they are. Edward Foster's just keeping them sort of broken up with Joshua Carroll behind him, of course, for JPS Simshed guys working well with JCW and Foster there, working well together. Of course, JPW first sort of season in ANZCAR with another team, so it's good to see him actually with a team and working with some other people as well.
Yeah, that's what's quite fascinating here, actually. Looking at this is the team battle. You've got groups of cars, different teams right at the front, working together here. We've got some JP Simshed cars, Illusion cars, all grouped up together, working together, although it can take just one slip up of one of these cars and your teamwork can go completely out the window in a flash. But it's shaping up quite interesting, if I'm quite honest, in the team battle, with about less than half of the race to go.
Yeah, we're on lap 24 now, so almost
a lot of green running, Carl.
Yeah, we had after lap 16 we were caution free until that last round of cautions just around about lap 100. So we've had a long stint of green here, which has made the race go a lot quicker than usual, which is nice. But it's been good to have all this green flag running. Just looking at the team battle as well, Danny Stevens has got Matthew Clerk behind him, who's a lap down at the moment, I'm pretty sure. But he is there for his teammates. So Clerk's actually 2 laps down, sorry. But he's right behind his teammates, so he's able to give them a bit of a push. They're working together. Clerk's a bit further down the field. He's not racing for position at the moment, but he's going to help his teammate and possibly put his teammate into a good position right now.
Yeah, it's good teamwork, and quite amazing there, Carl. Just looking on the back straight, just through turn 4, the side draft, whether it's a side draft or just the run out of those corners, seems to be quite large. Turn 1 and 2 struggling, but if we get towards the end of the race here, that outside line would come into play out of turns 3 and 4 into that back straight. They're getting a massive tow in the side draft down that back straight, which is quite interesting.
We did see in the duel last night. Sorry, not. I keep saying last night. Tuesday night even. The outside line was working really, and we've got a crash. Daniel Stevens has gone into JCW. Big incident there. Stephen Williams also caught up in that one. Sorry, it wasn't Daniel Stevens. It was Cluett. Cluett got caught up in that one. Went around. I'm just gonna have a little look back and see what happened there.
JCW.
Yeah, and it's gone right into the side of JCW. One of the DPR cars was behind Cluett, and I think maybe just got caught with him. Just having a look at that replay now and seeing what happened. So one of the DPR cars goes down, loses it slightly, catches Cluett in the back. Cluett can't do anything, has gone straight into JCW, and Stephen Williams as well has got caught up in that. And that's taken two of the big drivers out of that top 10. That is a big one there.
I just can't believe it, Carl. It's the commentator's curse. Literally talking about Stephen Williams 2 laps ago. I was setting him up, and he's the innocent victim of a pretty big shunt, and that'll be race over. That's a big repair.
A real shame there. Absolute shame, because that's going to drop him down a lap, maybe 2. It's really going to throw them off. Big shame there. And also for JCW, it's also split the pack up an enormous amount as well. We've got people up to sort of Dave Douglas and Josh Micklemore, but then Chris Purnell has dropped way back. That pack has split in half, and that's going to make a big difference as well for the rest of this race, because almost all of the pack has been thrown out now. So we've only got a few cars in that lead pack.
So that hasn't thrown a yellow.
No, we actually got caution free there.
Okay.
That's the third big incident we've had tonight without a caution.
Wow. Okay, that's huge.
It's been a crazy one, in all honesty. But the lack of cautions has really been something. We've had 3 incidents where cars have gone off on the infield and luckily not bounced back on the racing line. I think that's the big thing that's made the cautions not come out. There's not been sort of cars stopped or anything like that. And we've managed to keep green through those, and unfortunately for the drivers involved, it means that they've kept green as well for that, because if they got a caution there, that would have helped them enormously.
Well, we've got a situation now of 8 cars basically in the draft where everyone else is broken off. I mean, theoretically, I know it probably won't happen, but theoretically these 8, 9, maybe 10 drivers have completely split the pack. One of our winners may be sitting within this pack, depending obviously on cautions, which most likely will happen, and strategy.
Yeah, it has really split things up, and it's a big shame as well for people like Chris Purnell. The front of his car is absolutely mangled now as well. He has got a lot of bodywork damage, and that's not going to help him out. A huge shame for him, and that's just going to make it very, very hard for those guys. Stephen Williams is sort of soldiering on as well with a car that looks a little bit second-hand. But yeah, big change there, and a lot of people are their race has been really thrown upside down, and yeah, not a good thing to happen, and
no,
it's really helped these leaders out.
One of the challenges with damage as well is the amount of tape these guys are running. If you even on a repair on a pit stop, the repair won't entirely take away engine overheating. So you could come out of the pits in a repair and be faced with the issue of engine overheating in a slipstream. So it's huge. I mean, you're really looking at, in my opinion, Carl, the winner sitting in amongst these top 8 or 9 drivers.
Yeah, it's looking like that might be the case at the moment. Yeah, it's really changed things up for this race. Of course, as I said, Daytona, things can happen. You never know what's going to happen, but it's looking good for these guys. And the guys it's looking best for, I've got to say, is Mitch Motorsport. They have got 3 cars in this pack. They're the only team that have got multiple cars in this pack at the moment that I can see. Yeah, they're the only team with multiple cars in this pack at the moment. Everybody else has lost all their teammates, but Mitch Motorsport are running 3 strong now in the pack. You've got Josh Micklemore on that high line, and he's working his way up the pack now, pushing Daniel Stevens along, and he's going to be able to drop down and slot himself either in front of Jason Martin or between himself and Danny G. So those guys are in a prime position at the moment. They're going to want to get together and start working their own little pack, and this could be this could be the part where we see the Mitch Motorsport team sort of pushing away and taking on the lead of this race, and also the championship, of course.
Yeah, they're looking good, Carl. And I mean, from what I can see, I think these guys have realised that there's been a pretty big shunt. Most people look like they're taking stock, and our next pit stop will start to take us really close to certain bubbles to the end of the race. These guys are beginning to think about when they need to come in, what's going to take them to the end. The people that are in the tow will be saving fuel, which is a slight advantage, obviously, with less time in the pits. So these guys look like they're just sitting, waiting, and waiting for these next stops, which sounds like a pretty good move.
Yeah, well, if it runs green from now on, we'll be looking at around 2 more pit stops, maybe a quick splash and dash at the end. Depends on how these guys can keep it. Of course, Jason Martin's been in the lead of this race now for a lot of time. He's been leading for about 24 laps, and that means his fuel's going to be running out a lot sooner than the guys around him. But I expect to see Mitch Motorsport, if it does remain green, I think all 3 of their cars are going to pit together and try and form up to get themselves in a nice pack position. Despite the fact that a few of them will probably have a little bit more fuel on board. It might be good for Josh Micklemore because it might leapfrog him ahead of his teammates just because he's going to have to take on a little bit less fuel.
Yeah, and DG as well. DG's, geez, the Mitch guys are trying to...
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
They've slowed down.
Yeah, as you said, Carl, that's the move. They're clearly communicating there. They want that inside line, the 3-piece. As you picked it, now they're in the prime position, especially DG, to save fuel leading into the next stop.
Edward Foster was trying his best to not let this happen. He was really pushing hard to not let him get in there. But, Josh Micklemore with authority just came down, sliced in front of Foster's nose and was just like, nope, I'm coming in here. I don't care what you try. And that's
aggressive.
Stevens. Yeah,
aggressive, but good driving by Ed as well. He had to lift off there. If he hadn't lifted off, there would have been a little bit of contact, but he lifted off knowing that there's still a long way to go. But the Mitch boys very aggressive. They want that inside 3-piece. So I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think Josh Micklemore there as well was probably had the mindset of, look, I don't care what happens to you, Foster, because in the duel, of course, those two did make contact. Micklemore and Foster made contact in the duel, so sort of they're probably not going to want to do it again, but, it can happen. But good close racing from those guys there. They've raced each other for a long time. They know each other's moves and they know each other well. Daniel Stevens got left out a little bit to hang to dry as well. He's got James Roby behind him with Neil Pearson as well sitting there. And then, I'll have a look. I think it's Riley Curtis behind him, just a lap down at the moment. He's just sitting at the end of that, just helping push along that top pack. But Mitch Motorsport now, 3 cars strong in the pack all together, and that's really going to help them out. We're probably going to see them hitting in about 4 laps, I reckon.
Okay. Around lap 140, 60 laps to go. So yeah, geez, it's poised.
Yeah,
they're right on the edge of fuel strategy.
It's going to be I think we might see a bit of a fuel saving race towards the end of this one. If we go green for the rest of the race, it could be the case because they're going to be okay for fuel, but it's going to start getting a little bit tight in some areas and. See what happens there.
Ed Foster having a little bit of a sneaky look down the back straight. I don't think he's cooling his engine down. Doesn't look like he has much damage. We're just letting the guys know from Mitch Motorsports that he's there. Oh, a bit of traffic coming up here, so this could be interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of just put the Mitch Motorsport boys slightly out of position because they had to go up high to pass them. The lapped cars stayed low rather than going up the track. And the lap cars are staying on that bottom line.
They're touching!
Josh Micklemore's gone around. Dave Douglas there, and we've got a caution. Dave Douglas got very slightly tapped by there. Josh Micklemore just going around. I think one of the lapped cars just caught him very, very slightly, or might have been actually Stevens. I'm just going back to have a little look at that one. But very, very light contact on the tri-oval. And that's been a problem area, sort of just coming off the tri-oval. It's been very low grip around there into turn 1. And it looks like that might have been what happened. And yeah, Josh Micklemore got caught out by the side draft, went up the line, and amazingly, nobody else hit Micklemore. That was a big one, and that could have been a very big crash as well. Great driving, great great driving to avoid the incident there by a lot of people. But yeah, that was almost a very big crash there, and Josh Mickelman not having the start to the season he would have wanted.
Well, we picked it down the straight. You've got lapped cars to the right on the high line. You've one lap car, Lindsay Hobbs, on the inside line. Mitch Motorsport tried to go through a sandwich of cars, and then you've got one middle finger racing car, Josh Micklemore, touching as they try to go in between both cars, and it's Josh Micklemore who ends up second best, spinning on the inside and then lightly hitting the wall up on the outside wall. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I tell you what, Dave Douglas would have had a bit of a brown trouser moment there. He a brilliant chance of avoiding it. Did lock up a little bit and spin round, but yeah, fantastic job to get around that one. Um, and that's how quick it changes at Daytona. That's the thing. It's it's snap of the fingers and it's all of a sudden gone. And this is going to help that second pack catch up now. This is going to change the race. You got people like JCW, Stephen Williams. They've got quite a bit of damage, but they are in that sort of a lap down at the moment. But they're going to get that lap back. You got Chris Purnell, whose car is not looking great. In all honesty, there is quite a lot of bodywork damage to that, but he's up there as well. Hamish Gallagher is going to get in a good position. Josh Micklemore, he only dropped down to 8th, I think, so it worked out kind of well for him as well. Even though he was in that incident, he didn't get much damage, and he's actually managed to keep himself relatively high up. So it worked out quite well for him. So now we'll see what happens after all these pit stops.
Well, this is fascinating. I mean, you've got that leading pack that we were talking about, all in the pits, all of them in, all for tyres, all for fuel, 60 laps to go. So it means one stop from here. The pack behind have all stayed out. So we're going to have, as DG...
Yeah, it's a fantastic stop.
Yeah, and that was the prediction. So he saved fuel sitting behind Martin, and he's jumped his teammate in the pits. So, yeah, fascinating. So we've got two packs of cars all on different strategies.
Well, by 0.1 of a second in the time in the pit lane that was. So Danny G had a 32.2 second pit stop, with Jason Martin having a 23.3 second pit stop. So really good pit time for those guys. And that little tiny hesitation from Martin as he came out the pit lane just let Danny G go in front of him. But I do wonder if that was a bit of a tactical move as well, because it might have just been Danny G getting in front of Martin to help him out for this next section of the race. Because with 60 laps to go, they're not going to make it to the end on fuel. They're going to need to stop one more time. They all know this now, but they're probably going to try and save as much fuel as possible, so they take on a little bit less fuel in that stop. So we could see a bit of strategy playing out here now.
Well, that's right. I mean, now it's Martin who, in the next stint, will have the fuel advantage sitting behind his teammates. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, this is shaping up very interesting. This leading pack, actually, there's quite a few cars now coming out of that leading pack into the pit lane. Okay. So, interestingly, we have a group of Curtis, Jaeger, Hancock, Ryan DiCardia McCarthy, Matt Allison, Brett Garedis, Matt Hunter, Doubtnack, and then that's a leading car of a pack of 6 or 7. DG, the leading car, I suppose technically on track, seen as though he was the leading car who's come into the pits. So interesting to see what happens here with DG overtaking the cars in front. Fresh tyres, full fuel, and when does this leading pack of 6 or 7 have to pit? Will also be important. I mean, these guys, 60 laps to go. I mean, they really have to try and eke out to about lap 164, 65 to be able to get to the end if they're lucky. So without knowing their fuel loads, I'd be doubtful if they could stay out there for 24, 25 laps.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
managed to get a couple of 30-lap stints through this race. So
Nice.
the longest I've seen is a 34, 35. Those are some of the longest stints we've had. So if you're out in the sort of mid-pack, so people like Hamish Gallagher, Josh Micklemore could be in prime position for this one, even Dave Douglas and Purnell, because they're going to be a bit further down that pack. A lot less drag on the car, a lot more of the air being pushed away from those guys as they're sort of seeing further down the pack. Could mean they can go in a couple of extra laps longer, and of course take a little bit less fuel on as well. So that's going to help them out.
Okay.
Just having a quick look as we do. I'm just going to look through the guys we've lost so far this race. So currently, the first person out is Matthew Cluett. He's down there in 27th place. Bradley Kemp is also looking like he's out of the race. Michael Skurlock, of course, unfortunately, went out 47 laps ago. Michael Cracknell, as well as retired, with Simon Sparko, Ryan Bull, and then Michael Latterer, who went out very early in the race, unfortunately. So a few people are out of the race now. Not the super high numbers we usually expect at Daytona, which is a good thing. There are still quite a few cars running. We've got 26 cars still out there.
Yeah, okay, so that pack of 6 or 7 that I was talking about have been let through by the safety car, so they were at least a lap down. So that's my fault. So the safety car has picked up DG, Williams, Martin, Stevens, Ed Foster, and this is our leading pack with 58 laps to go. So these guys all need to pit one more time, and this is it. So this pace car coming in, I'll hand over to you, Carl, because things are about to get very interesting.
And under green we go. Danny G gets a fantastic restart and actually pulls a bit further away from Jason Martin. He's going to try and cut in, and he does get in front of Daniel Stevens. A important move for him there. He'll have wanted to get down there. Daniel Stevens didn't try and get back up in the high line. Foster just behind him, so good restart there for the Mitch Motorsport boys. I reckon Danny G is going to be working as the puller for this stint now, working in front of his teammate, just getting him in a little bit of clean air, helping him run for a bit longer. Of course, the cars will have cooled down with that period of the safety car, things like that, but a bit of fresh air for Danny G. He won't be looking at the back of another car for a while, which I'm sure he'll be glad about. But it looks like a few cars are trying to get that outside line working. James Roby pulling out, trying to get that outside line working, but he is losing positions as we speak. Dropped all the way down, and he's actually just behind Josh Micklemore now. Josh Micklemore's trying to get his way up there. As I say, he didn't lose too many positions through that incident. He was actually very lucky there. That could have been a lot more positions lost for him, but he has got a bit of damage to the front of the car.
And that'll be the concern with the damage at the front. Just knowing from experience, that can cause overheating issues and obviously speed issues when you're not in the slipstream. We'll see what Micklemore can do. He's a great driver, so no doubt he could probably pull things out. Hopefully that damage isn't too bad.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to beat his record of last season, where I think it was 9 races without a single incident last year, which was just an incredible run. It's not going so well this year, but he's still up there and still fighting, and that's the main thing. You can never count out Micklemore. He's a very good driver, and that sort of super team, Mitch Motorsport, is a very good team as well. We've got Jason Martin in there, former champion, of course, and sort of very close to winning last season too. Danny G, who's always a good hand to have. He's very fast. He's always up in that sort of top 10 and working very hard. So a real good team there, and with all of their cars up there, it's going to make everybody else's job a little bit harder.
Oh, for sure. And what's quite interesting here is just the single line running, which is not what I expected. I expected around now a lot of people pretty keen to make their way forward. Looks like an outside line is forming, but a lot of the guys on that inside line are pretty keen just to sit there for the time being. It is a lot safer on that inside line when there are accidents. It's probably a little bit easier to avoid the carnage. The outside line can be risky in that respect. So our top 4, 5, maybe 6 drivers pretty keen to sit on that inside line, as illusions seem to be forming up around the 7th or 8th area.
Yeah, Chris Purnell just dropping down in front of Dave Douglas there, and we also got Josh Micklemore sliding his way into the front of that illusion pack as well. So those guys are going to be working quite hard. I imagine Purnell's going to be pretty happy about Micklemore getting in front of him, actually. Just with the damage to the front of that car, it's just going to help him out a little bit more.
So Martin looks pretty happy sitting behind his teammate, saving fuel. I think he might be right. I think DG might be doing his teammate a pretty good service here in this next stint. It does save you a lot of fuel. You know, you're looking at around 3-4 laps of lifting, which saves you fuel. So when you come into the pits, someone like DG, they're going to run out of fuel in around 33 laps. Whereas Martin, you could stretch that to about 37 laps, so huge advantage. So this next phase is just massive in regards to fuel economy.
Yeah, we edge ever closer to the finish of the race now, and everybody's going to start working their way back. We're almost on lap 150, and that's sort of getting towards that magical lap. Once we hit about lap 165, it's theoretically possible to make it to the end. We'll see how it goes from there. So the lead is happening. We've got that outside line formed now, and Neil Pearson's getting pushed along nicely by James Robbie, and they're getting a nice fuel push there. Dave Douglas has jumped out there as well, and I think I can see Riley Curtis towards the back with possibly Josh Micklemore sitting on the tail of that. No, sorry, it would be Raymond Yeager, sorry. Very similar coloured cars from a distance. Just makes it a little bit harder sometimes. But yeah, those guys are sitting on the outside now. It does look like that outside line is just maybe struggling a little bit for grip. A lot of side draft happening, but they are a little bit all over the place at the moment. Of course, also just pulling out of the air just to cool themselves down, and that's the other big thing they need to do. But they are getting some good speed, and it's really helped. It's real helped Neil Pearson, because he's jumped up from quite a few spots down. He's pushed his way out quite a decent spot.
Yeah, Pearson doing well. Not a driver I know much about, Carl. You might be able to fill me in a bit more. He's really doing amazingly well there.
And we got contact.
Touching. And they're all holding. It's huge.
Dave Douglas has gone round, and Riley Curtis as well. A big incident there. There was a big bit of touching. It looks like somebody had to lift there for a second, and it looks like James Robbie actually, I think, has gone into the wall. So just on turn 3, I think it was. James Robbie's just... Oh, no, I think James Robbie's actually blown his engine or something, or some sort of... something very strange there. He almost just locked up. He just lost a load of speed as he was going along. A big puff of smoke. He was just in front of Dave Douglas, and then he dropped about 15 kilometers per hour from nowhere. The car just slowed down to about 280, and Dave Douglas just went straight into the back of him. You have Raymond Yeager as well. Roby was just bouncing along the wall. A lot of problems for Roby, but that's caused a huge incident and taken a couple of other cars out. And then at the back, we also had a second incident happen as Riley Curtis got caught up by a secondary pack behind them. I'm just going to go back and see exactly what happened. Riley Curtis has lost the whole front end of his car. That's a huge shame for him. He was running a bit further down, but he has gone round and then been collected by a secondary pack. So that has taken a... Yeah, that's a big shame. And he just tried to move around to get on the infield. He was turning in, and then a lot of other cars caught him. And yeah, there was a secondary incident behind him. And quite a few cars involved in that. Jason Hardigan, I think Stephen Williams, DeCarthy MacArthur, Matt Hunter, pretty much the whole back end of the field was involved in that incident. A lot of drivers got caught up in that one. Joshua Carroll Walden, I think, also got caught up in there as well. So a lot of damage for these guys. And yeah, Joshua Carroll Walden did manage to avoid a lot of that one, but a lot of drivers got caught up in that one, and a lot of drivers got some serious damage there. Huge crash.
Huge, and I think you're right, it's James Robbie, but it looks like he's blown an engine as the two Mitch Motorsport guys come out, and it's Martin in front of DG this time. I can't believe they've come into the pits. They've come into the pits again with only 49 laps to go. Interesting decision. They only pitted probably 4 or 5 laps ago, so...
Yeah, not a long stint on that one, but I think everybody is just trying to get as much fuel as possible on board, because there's the 41 laps to go, so nobody can make it on fuel here, but it means they have to stop for a shorter time. If we go green from here on out, they'll have a shorter stop for the next round of pit stops, so that's going to help them out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite fascinating. I mean, it's like a game of chess. I remember racing last week. I think it's the fastest game of chess I think I've ever played in my life, of strategy and things like that. And you've got the Mitch Motorsport guys clearly make a decision, Ed Foster, etc., following suit. But you've got guys in front that are playing a different game. It really makes it quite interesting.
It's one of the hardest thing about sim racing, in all honesty, because when you're racing, when you're out racing an actual car, in NASCAR and things like that, you've got strategists calling your shots. You got people on the pit wall calling the shots. Now, a few of these teams do have, the drivers gone out, they'll help them out and talk them through stuff, of course. But usually the teams are drivers on the track, and they're all talking to each other and working out their strategy. And of course, you're doing that running at 300 plus kilometers per hour while rubbing doors with each other. And working out that strategy is not an easy thing to do in sim racing. It's all pretty much your own decisions and working out for yourself, because you don't have any pit crew working it out for you.
Yeah, that's right. I still can't believe that there was a blown engine there on the back straight. James Robbie must have had a bit of damage, and the engine was overheating. Like I said, when you've got damage and you're sitting in behind somebody, and you've got a lot of tape on that front end, you run the risk of overheating the engine, and the engine has just exploded
Yeah,
on that back straight, and Dave Douglas has just smashed into the back of him, and a massive pile-up has ensued. I just can't believe it. Amazing.
well, Dave Douglas has got to be one of the luckiest drivers out there tonight, because he's been involved, I think, in about 3 or 4 incidents and
He's still there.
managed to keep up there. So he's doing something right,
He
Mr.
won't give
Top
in.
10.
If he wins it from here, Carl, I'll tell you what, I'll buy a carton of beer.
Look, I wouldn't put it past Dave. I mean, he's number 10 on the car, and he usually finishes 10th or thereabouts. So, he's pretty good at getting up there. But yeah, he's been lucky to sort of avoid a lot of the incidents or just scrape by it. He's just done it again. He's just scraped through that incident. He did go into the back of Roby, whose engine did go out, and he's out of the race now as well. So another driver to add to the list of drivers out, unfortunately. So I think it's we've got Lindsay Hobbs. Kristen Koch is still in the race though. Unfortunately, it looks like Lindsay Hobbs might be out of the race as well. A lot of damage to that car, to the number 7. So Lindsay Hobbs, Matthew Clerk, Bradley Kemp, Michael Skurlock, Michael Cracknell, Simon Sirocco, Ryan Bull, and Michael Latterer, as well as James Roby now. That list of cars that won't be finishing the race, and obviously, engine blowing up as a Terminal 1, you're not going to fix that one in the pit lane.
No. And on go through our lapped cars, Jonathan Hancock, Brett Goretz, and Phil Otto being let through by the pace car, which then, again, here's that pack. I mean, these guys have pitted. They only have 47 laps to go. They're not going to make it to the end, but the splash and dash will be fascinating. But here it is, picked up by Jason Barden, DG, and Daniel Stevens, our top 3 again after the last caution.
Exactly, and it's a good first race of the season, and everybody's going to be looking for the championship, for the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup. They're really going to be looking forward to it for sure. But you've got to finish this first race, and it can be a good start to your season. It can really help you get that sort of momentum going. A guy that's doing really well at the moment, actually, I just want to mention Hamish Gallagher. He's crawled his way up there, and he's now in 4th place. Himself and Josh Micklemore have made 20 positions in this race. Brilliant job by those guys. Doing a fantastic job getting up there. Also, Jonathan Hancock as well, doing a very good job. His first race in the Cup. So he's doing a very good job there. He's just keeping out of trouble. He's sort of got involved in a couple of accidents which were unavoidable, unfortunately, but he's managed to keep going. So he's getting there, and he's just going to get to finish the race, and that's one of the main things, is just getting that experience under your belt. He's only 2 laps down, so doing a good job. As the pace car comes in, and we're going to go back to green flag racing for the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup here at Daytona, and Martin drops his foot to the floor, dumps the throttle, and gets out in front of Danny G, and they're going to slot in with each other again.
Perfect start.
Let's see how this goes.
And I would imagine this is where people start really wanting to make some moves. There isn't. We're into the last quarter of the race. So if you're going to make a move, you've got to make a move now. If you want to get up near that front, and I think we might see some aggressive stuff now, Carl.
Yeah, the aggression is going to start turning up now with only 46 laps to go. Aggression is going to be starting to turn up, and people are going to be thinking about that race win. Of course, there's also the thing about positioning for the race win, because sometimes you don't always want to be in first place on that last lap, because with the draft and things like that, you can get a bit of a launch on that final corner and get that position yourself. We've seen that a few times on these super speedways. It comes down to that very last moment. So people are going to start thinking about that. They're also going to start thinking about their fuel and things like that now. The longer you can go into this stint means the less time you're in the pits.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, someone like a DG, Ed Foster, etc., sitting second, third, fourth, they're going to be in the pits a lot less than the leader, Martin, who's using up maximum fuel currently. And you can see why everyone's pretty keen to sit line astern in a line to save that fuel, so that next stop is shorter than the leader. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, my money right now is those guys, second, third, fourth, fifth. It wouldn't be on Martin for me personally from here.
No, well, a guy that's looking good actually is Foster. He's been able to run about 2 or 3 laps longer than these guys in front for pace. Throughout the race, he stopped about 2 or 3 laps after the leaders. Jason Martin's usually been the first to stop in stints because he's been out in the lead, obviously, but Foster's been able to just save a little bit of fuel. And if he can do it on this stint and manage to get a little bit of an extra run, it could save him a couple of seconds in the pit lane, which can link to a decent jump on the actual track itself.
This is fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen a Daytona 500 run one line. There is probably 10, 11, 12 cars running inside line. No one wants that outside line as it uses so much fuel. Everyone's really keen at the moment to sit in that tow and save as much fuel as possible. This is fascinating.
Yeah, all the way down to 16th position is the first car running side by side, and Jaeger has pulled in now, so everybody is running in an and formation of just single file. Nobody's sitting out there. Everybody's just sitting in a sort of smart place. They're not pushing too hard. They're just working the car and getting in that single line formation now, because it's about fuel now. It's a fuel race. It doesn't matter how fast you are, it's all about that fuel. You're going to want to save as much fuel as possible from here. You're also going to want to keep that engine in a good condition, as we've seen. But James Roby, he didn't have much damage to the front of that car, but his engine just let go out of nowhere. He wasn't really close to anybody in that moment. He was actually sort of out on his own on the outside track. Now, of course, things can come into that. He might have made some bad gear shifts during the race. These are things that can happen when you're racing. And of course, that does cause a bit of damage to the engine and gearbox, things like that. But for it to let go like that, I think it was having a bit of a terminal issue. And some other drivers might be starting to have that problem as well, because it is quite warm out there still. We're looking at, it's still about 29 degrees air temperature, so it's quite hot out there still. A lot of these guys, of course, ran in the duel, which was at night, which meant the temperatures were far lower than we've got now too. So maybe that caught a couple of people out. Lap 158 now. We're really getting through the laps, and there's not much longer to go on this 500. It's been one heck of a race though. We've had everything. We've had drama, we've had action, we've had some fantastic side-by-side racing, and some fantastic draft racing, which we're still getting now, and really just shows the sort of the form you get in the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup. This is the kind of racing you'll be looking at all year long.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating championship.
It usually is. It's we usually get some good ones, and we've just got a bit of a break out at the back now. They're starting from around about 12th down. We're starting to get side by side. Raymond Jaeger's just coming out of the slipstream a little bit and trying to get some people working with him, trying to push himself back up to the front of the pack. And I think a few drivers are starting to think maybe it's time to make a move now. It could be a good spot. We've saved a little bit of fuel. Could be a good chance to get a run, get a few positions. Every place helps.
Yeah, I mean, those people on that outside line can make up a ton of positions, but obviously, if you're that lead driver on that outside line, you're going to be punished when it comes time to refuel. But yeah, I mean, that outside line, we could see people coming up from the back, along that side. You can make up a ton of positions if you're willing to push. I mean, if you're sitting behind someone on that outside line, you're sitting pretty. Which it looks like an illusion car sitting in behind that outside line, prepared to accept that toe to try and make his way forward.
Yeah, we currently got Norman Clark there, and he's actually a lap down, so he's really got nothing to lose being out there. He can actually, yeah, he can do a good position. He's sitting out on the outside line at the moment. He's getting a good draft. He's currently the first of the lapped cars as well, so if we do get a caution, he's going to get the wave around and get back on the lead lap.
As Pearson peels out, Pearson says, I'm prepared to gain the positions and use some fuel. He's peeled out from that inside line. Watch Pearson come right up alongside the leaders with the next couple of laps.
He's going to come flying up there from almost nowhere. He's doing a great job getting there. We've also got sort of a couple of cars are starting to fall back in line, but we've still got a couple of cars out there. We've got Norman and we've got Mirko Dortnack, I think. Sorry, not Dortnack. Trying to work out which illusion car that is now. The fun begins. We've got one of the illusion cars there, Scott Butler. There we go, Scotty Butler there.
Butler
in the 94, he's out there as well. So those guys are a lap down, so they're just pushing their way up to the front, and you can see he's catching. Pearson is he's just got past Stevens. He's now just sitting, just coming up behind Danny G as well. So those guys are starting to push now and get their positions up.
And here comes Pearson, as we expected, really making a huge play here with 37 laps to go. He wants to be at the front, and he's going to be up the front very shortly.
Yeah, it's working out well for him at the moment. He's doing really well, and Neil Pearson, he's gained 11 laps in this race. He started sort of mid-pack, and he's just been sitting there, not making too much fuss, doing a really good job so far. And sort of get his way up there, but a few of the cars are just starting to have to fall out. They're just getting a little bit hot as this race goes on as well. The cars are starting to get tired, as well as the drivers, of course. And this is where mechanical problems start to rear that ugly head, as we saw with the engine going. You have to be really careful now, and you can see a lot of drivers are just jumping out the draft to get a bit of air on their car, because it seems like heat is possibly an issue right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising. I think you hit the nail on the head as well, Carl, in terms of fatigue. I know about this stage, if you've been sitting there and sucking down a couple of litres of water or Powerade, your bladder wants a break, your brain wants a break. You can't have a break though, because you've got 36 laps of probably the biggest race in ANZCAR to come, and you're right on the limits. And you're really wanting that checkered flag to start getting closer, as Pearson is making a huge move here.
Yeah, lap 165 now. So lap 165, we're 35 laps from the end. We're in that point where you can start thinking about a pit stop and make it to the end if you're sort of good on fuel. Now anyone that pits can pretty much make it to the end of the race. But Pearson is working hard. We're just going past a lapped car right now and managed to keep up nice and high. No trouble there. We're not going to do a silly four-wide manoeuvre right now, hopefully. So doing good there to get past the lap traffic. And yeah, as you said, this is where it gets a bit harder. Another thing about sim car racing, rather than the real world, is of course bladders, and they do get full. One of the beauties about racing a real car is it doesn't really matter if you're sort of if you're just no,
it's Clark.
Clark's got involved. A big crash at the back. Raymond Yeager got spun around straight into the side of an illusion car. A huge incident there. That is a lot of cars that just got caught up in that one as well. Norman and Clark. We'll have to just go back and see exactly what happened there. On that, sort of on the tri-oval again, and that's been a problem all weekend long. People have been struggling on that tri-oval. Just have a look to see what actually happened there. I'm just jumping back now.
Looks like he's tried to take the inside line, Carl Clark, the lapped car, trying to sit back on that inside line, and there's been a touch.
Yeah, the inside, the 13 just caught the edge of Clark. So the 13 of Hamish Gallagher was sort of sitting there in position, and he just got caught by Clark coming down a little bit too early. Just a tiniest mistake, split-second mistake there, and that's what can happen, and that has just taken out a few more cars from that leading pack. But the most important thing is this is the pit stop where you can make to the end of the race. So everybody, I imagine, will be pitting on this lap, coming in, getting the fuel, and this is going to be a real sprint to the end of this race now.
Yeah, this is huge. You're right, Carl. This is it. Yeah, if you pit now, you will make it home. You will get to the end of the Daytona 500. Even if you're the lead car, like someone like a Martin, if you are leading, you will make it home after this pit stop. This is huge. It's a bit of a pit stop race here.
I imagine Jason Martin has got a huge smile on his face right now from that caution, because this has basically saved his race for him. He was sitting out front, leading in those positions, and of course, leading the pack, using up quite a lot of fuel, and this is really going to help him for the end of the race. This is going to affect some of those cars a bit further back who thought, oh, I can save a bit of fuel here, I can get a little bit longer. So people like, probably pretty much from around about Pearson down, so Neil Pearson, Chris Purnell, Joshua Carroll-Walden, Dave Douglas, those guys are starting to get in a position where they could really sort of could have made a good jump in a green flag pit stop, but in the in a situation like this, it's going to really affect them.
DG, Clark, DG. That's my pick to come out of this pit frenzy in the lead of this race. We'll see what happens here as they trundle down pit lane. But there's my pick for you, number 24. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Danny's been really good on the pit stops for all race long. He's had some fantastic stops throughout this race, so we'll see how it goes. Another guy that's been pretty quick in pit stops today is Foster. So we'll see how it goes. Martin does get a good stop, though. He's got out in front.
Oh, wow.
Foster's actually dropped a handful of positions. He's dropped quite a few positions there because, of course, you're going to take a little bit less fuel. Fuel is the thing that these guys will have been working on. So who's made the right choice and who's made the wrong choice now? That's going to be the interesting thing. If we just look at some of the times there, so Jason Martin was a 26.3. Edward Foster was a 28.4, so he's been in there for a bit longer. He's probably taken all four wheels and some fuel. But it just depends on how much fuel. Did they get a full tank? Did they leave a couple short just to get a little bit of extra time on the pit stop? And is that going to come back to bite somebody in the butt on the end of this race? Could somebody run out of fuel? This is going to be the all-important question now.
Well, that's right. I've got a feeling, Carl, that the Mitch Motorsport guys have actually only taken the right-hand side tyres, whereas, say, Ed Foster has taken all tyres. So, yeah, fascinating how that pans out. Obviously, Ed Foster will have much more grip as this stint wears on, but those guys have clearly taken that right-hand side tyres only to get the jump out of the pits.
Yeah, really helped them out there.
Wow.
From what I've heard from the drivers, tyres aren't as big a gainer as some tracks. Some tracks, of course, it's all about tyres. You know, fuel, you can blast on fuel all race, but tyres are the big issue. Here at Daytona, it's more of a fuel race. Tyres don't make too much difference, but of course, when you've got a little bit of extra grip, it means you might be able to run that high line a little bit easier. You'll be able to get a bit of better traction at the start. There are all these little things that can help. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. Anything can happen in motorsport, and it usually does. We'll see what happens from here on.
Daniel Stevens has missed his pit box on that stop. Had to reverse back into the bay. You might be able to help me out here, Carl. He's actually overtaken drivers exiting the pit, sort of around the pit exit corner. Is that allowed? I don't know if he's been penalised there or not, but he's made a big move up the inside of someone on the pit exit as he's curling around back onto the circuit. Is that allowed? I mean, I've never even tried it.
I think what actually happened there is because because of his qualifying position, he was relatively high up. He was on second box in, so he was the second box in. So he got across the line ahead of everybody else. But he didn't have the speed coming out of it. They all had the speed, so he's crossed the line first.
Yep.
But they've all got in front of him because they were going faster, so he's able to get back in front of them there. So that's really helped him out. And that is one of the things about qualifying, the duel on Thursday. You know, him getting that second place has saved him a couple of spots there because of that mistake.
Yeah, a great pickup. Yeah, you're exactly right. That has saved him literally 2 positions.
I sound smart there. I almost sound like I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Well, people commented through the week, is the duel important? I mean, in a Daytona 500, probably not, but we've probably seen there, if you get that box near that exit, you hit that line before everyone else, and just like Stevens there, you gain those couple of positions. So I think him working hard in the duel has probably helped him in the race here as we start to form up to 2x2.
We do, and just have a look at the top three for me, would you? So we got Jason Martin, Danny G, and Josh Micklemore all in the top three. Danny G's on the outside, Josh Micklemore's on the inside, just behind Jason Martin. Three Mitch Motorsport cars in the top three positions there. That is really going to help them out for this race.
Well, how is Micklemore sitting where he is after the accident they had earlier? Beyond me, it's a remarkable drive. Hopefully his car isn't too damaged, but that's quite impressive considering where he was probably 30, 40 laps ago. That's impressive.
Micklemore had a terrible time in the duel. Look, this is the flip side of the duel. He ended up getting out in the duel. He had a touch with Foster and went into the wall, and so he started almost last. He's made up 22 positions in this race.
Wow.
And yeah, this is the flip side of, does it matter about the duel? Sometimes not, but it definitely did help Stevens out there. But Micklemore has made his way up the field, and he's got lucky a couple of times. There's been a few stories out there tonight. Dave Douglas as well has been involved in a couple of those incidents, and they've really got lucky to keep where they are. They just managed to be. I think the biggest help for them is because there are so many lapped cars, so they haven't gone down a lap. They've managed to keep in front, and that's made a big difference.
Yeah. Geez, Carl, do we see a Mitch Motorsport 1, 2, 3 as we go green? Here we go. This is it, all the way to the end.
Yeah, let's hope green to the very end here. So laps 171 out of 200, and yeah, this is going to be a big one. Gosh, it's hard to say. Look, it's looking good for Mitch Motorsport at the moment. These guys have got a really good position at the moment as Foster jumps out.
Foster, he's making his move on the outside.
He's jumped to the outside line now. He knows what he needs to do, because if he gets stuck up in the rest of the pack there, he's not going to be able to catch his Mitch Motorsport boys. He wants to try and get ahead, and he's going to try and get ahead of Neil Pearson. Unfortunately, though, Foster's got nobody helping him out. Stevens dropped down behind Pearson, and Foster is now losing positions. As we see a car at the back jumping out to try and help him. Dave Douglas looks like he's coming in for another stop. Dave Douglas coming into the pit lane, I think. So possibly picked up a bit of a penalty there or something, unfortunately for Douglas. But up the front, we have three Mitch Motorsport cars, and Foster is out there on the edge. Will those tyres give him enough traction to help him in this position? He's not losing too many spots. He is managing to get up there, but he needs somebody out there to help him as Neil Pearson jumps out in front of him, and that's going to be something that's going to help Foster a lot.
Well, I think what we've got here now is we've basically got three teammates, 1, 2, 3, line astern. We've got Pearson and Foster who are going to have to work together basically against that team. You sort of form an allegiance, even though you're not part of the team, just to make your way forward. So we'll see if Pearson and Foster can work together here to mix it up with the Mitch Motorsport boys.
Yeah, it's a big one. There's not many teammates around to help him. Neil Pearson's got Phil Otto just a little bit further behind him with Foster, just side by side with Foster now. So he's going to want to try and get Phil Otto up there. But just behind Foster as well, we've got Josh Carroll-Walden. JCW is there for Foster. So even though Mitch Motorsport have 3 bullets in the barrel, 3 bullets in the gun, the other teams have got a couple of bullets left around them. So there's 2 cars for those teams. So that's going to help them out enormously. Illusion, of course, with Purnell. He's sitting there on his own, which you wouldn't have expected earlier on in this race with the amount of Illusion cars there. And also, of course, Daniel Stevens, the only Middle Finger Racing car as well. So there are a couple of single car teams up here, and they're going to try their best to sort of work together as well, I imagine.
We're cat amongst pigeons, so to speak. But yeah, Chris Purnell, what a driver, and what a driver he is. He just seems to always be up there no matter what car he's in. He's one guy that I really admire, the ability to be competitive where he's at, and he's 26 laps away from really having a good dig at the Daytona 500.
Yeah, well, Chris had a bit of a bad one in the duel as well. He's had some trouble, and he's also had some trouble in the race. He's been around a couple of times and been involved in a few incidents. As you can see with the front of that car, it's a little bit better than it was earlier on. There's been some repairs to that car for sure, but he's had a few incidents, he's had a few turnarounds, and he's done a really good job to get back up there. There's a lot of stories from this race for a lot of these guys, but the two people where really it's been quite a dull race is Danny G and Jason Martin. They've really not had much happen to them this race. They've sort of been in the front of the whole thing. So I'll touch some wood that I don't give them the curse of the commentator there. But
curse that I gave Stephen Williams earlier.
yeah, that's it. But they're doing quite well. So Hardigan's just got on the back of Jason W as well. So this is really good for them. So Foster, Hardigan, and JCW there, 3 people for the JP Simshed team. And new team this season, of course, and also our broadcast colleague of JP's Simshed Broadcasting, which is a very welcome thing. We're very happy to still be broadcasting. But those guys are going to work together pretty well. DPR as well, just in front of Foster, that's going to help them out. They're going to use a little bit less fuel. So they're going to get dragged up there. So they're going to work hard to try and get there. Looks like Foster might try and go 3 wide here.
Yeah, I mean, here comes the side draft. So you've got Pearson gradually chipping away on that back straight up towards the leaders with the 3 JP Simshed cars, wanting probably Pearson to make that move up a little bit higher. I mean, we have the potential here to have 3 Mitch Motorsport cars, 3 JP Simshed cars going toe-to-toe with 24 laps to go. With Pearson, the meat the sandwich, so to speak. Geez, they get close. In amongst it all, with 10 cars, Carl, our winners coming from here.
Yeah, it's of course it could still go pear-shaped. Could still go wrong.
Take each other out.
No, but yeah, it's looking good. And can't count out Daniel Stevens. He's a former winner here. He won in 2018. He's still in that position. He came second in the duel. He's been up in the front of this race the whole race time. He is doing a really good job. But he's got to try and get himself up a couple of cars or up in the top pack or something like that to get a chance of winning, as we're on 177 of 200. Not far to go here. And boy, they're getting close. Neil Pearson is almost rubbing door panels.
That side draft, he's just gradually chipping his way up near the lead. They're getting quite close to each other on that tri-oval, as you said, Pearson and the Mitch Motorsport cars. Pearson obviously taking a pretty narrow line because he doesn't want those JP Simshed cars to overtake him down on that tri-oval. So he's doing a little bit of blocking here as Ed Foster looks to have a little bit of a think about it. Thinks better of it.
He's thinking about going 3 wide here, and look, it happened to Pearson's teammate as we get past Dave Douglas now. He's just getting lapped, but he's still got some speed, so he's going to be able to just drop on the back of this pack and probably help out. He's going to try and get up there and probably help out Skurlock. The big thing we've seen just with Pearson is his teammate Phil Otto in the actual duel. He had that issue on the tri-oval, and just lost it going through that tri-oval, and was on the high line and just went into the low line. So it's a dangerous place to be. It's racing on a knife edge here for sure, and it's getting so very close, so very tense. These guys are going to be really, really getting the adrenaline pumping now. Oh, what a race! It's been one heck of a 500 so far. We've had it all, I think. It's been one of those races. Lots of green flag running, which is what we love to see. But then quite a few little cautions towards the end there. Quite a few little things just happening. But it's made for an exciting race for sure.
With 20 laps to go now, Carl. I mean, we spoke about it earlier. When do you make the move? I mean, we're really now the drivers will know that it's getting tired. That you're going to have to make a move at some stage if you want to win this race. There's probably some here that want to win, some that want championship points. Who wants to win it the most? I mean, look at Ed Foster. He's going to make a move soon, Carl. I think we're going to see 3 wide. I think we're going to see 3 wide shortly coming into turns 3 and 4. He looks like he's pretty keen to win this one. So I think we're about to see some fireworks go off in the next few laps.
Yeah, I think Foster's pretty keen for a win here. He had a decent season last year. He was pretty much up in the championship all year long. A little bit of an unfortunate moment in the chase, sadly. But 2018 as well, he was up there. I think he was second in the championship then. He's really been quite close. He's very good in a championship situation. He's always good at scoring points and getting good positions, but this year, he just wants to go that extra couple of millimeters and get those wins and try and get the championship win as well. He's pretty hungry for this one, and he's going to be trying his best. As they look to go 3 wide, looks like Foster was just trying to get there, maybe just trying to psych Pearson out as well. Just force Pearson into maybe making a tiny mistake or something like that too, because there's that part of the game as well where you're trying to psych out all the drivers around you.
I mean, the question remains. I mean, it's a risky option, but if you're Foster, you're starting to think nothing's really happening. Do you either go 3 wide? Do you go bump draft? The bump draft to start the push and hope that your 2 teammates behind you, JP Simshed, can work. I mean, it's super risky, but if you can get the bump draft going, all of a sudden that outside line, you guys are going to be much faster than the inside line that aren't bump drafting. I mean, these things start to run through your head. What do you do? I mean, if you're Ed Foster, you just sit there and come forth, or do you take a bit of a risk? So we'll see what happens.
I've got a feeling he might want to take a risk on this one. He's looking pretty racy. I've known him for a long time as well, and he's looking like he's just sort of almost like a snake coiling up, just ready to strike. And he's just sitting back there. He wants to get up there, but this is where Daniel Stevens can make a move. He's just got onto the front of that outside line, got himself into a really good position there, and Daniel Stevens just moved his queen into position, and he might be trying to take the king out here.
Yeah, what's happened there is Pearson's actually been balked just by a fraction by a lap car, and huge move. Look at the pace on the outside.
Stevens has got fantastic pace on the outside. We saw that at the duel, and it looks like he's going to get past. He might even try and cut down in front of Martin if he can get there. He just needs a little bit of extra pace here. He just needs about half a car length he needed to get in front of Martin. If he can get in front of Martin, this could be very good for him. Of course, he's also been saving fuel a little bit. He doesn't have to worry about fuel at all. Martin has that worry on his head. Did he take enough fuel? Will he be able to get to the end with ease? We're on lap 184 of 200, so 15 laps to go in a moment. But Martin's now got the speed. That high line is dropping back a little bit. We've seen that all race long, coming through turns 1 and 2. The high line is slower. Turns 3 and 4, the high line's a little bit slower, but through turns 1 and 2, a little bit faster. So it's just getting in that right position at the right time.
I thought Micklemore might have gone onto the high line, then he did have the space to go to the high line. I mean, if you're a Mitch Motorsport, you take both the bottom line and the high line.
Contact again through lapped cars, a huge incident behind. A lot of the drivers have gone round. Caution is out. Foster managed to just weave it through and miss all of that incident. Quite a few cars did get involved. Josh Micklemore has lost the whole front end of his car. Daniel Stevens has got a lot of damage. Danny G made it through with pretty much nil contact. Neil Pearson has lost the whole front end. Purnell actually made up a good position there. Purnell and Purnell and Joshua Carroll-Walden made up some good spots there. Phil Otto's pretty much been taken out there. That was a huge incident. Slow cars again going 4 wide. Again,
my head in my hands, Carl. I just don't believe it. It's every time it's lapped cars causing chaos.
Yeah, real unfortunate there. Again, 4 wide with lapped cars. It just does not work. I could hear it coming up. I'm just watching on the chase cam, and I just could hear the cars coming up. So it looks like Jonathan Hancock was on the high line, and the 550 of Tristan Koch was on the low line, and did not work for them. And it's just meant that we just saw Josh Micklemore. He just lost a bit. It's just like Daniel Stevens. The car just lost aero and he's just gone down. So yeah, it looks like the aero just rubbed off the front. All of a sudden, he had no front grip and he's just gone down into Josh Micklemore. Josh Micklemore's gone round. Huge incident there. Few drivers just miraculously avoiding that. They did a fantastic job getting out the way, but again,
it's ruined Mitch Motorsport's plan because they're down now to 2 cars, and out goes a middle finger racing car. You've got 2 Mitch Motorsport cars, 1 JP Simshed's cars, and an Illusion car in your top 4.
well, we've got Joshua Carroll-Walden as well, just behind Foster. So 2 JP Simsheds are up there. So it's actually looking pretty good for them at the moment. They've got some good drivers up there, and I think Jason Hartigan, yeah, he's 2 laps down, but he is just behind JCW. So it's actually not too bad for those guys. Mitch Motorsport, of course, have lost 1 car, but they still got 2. Danny G and Jason Martin, who have been pretty much leading this race all race long. They've pretty much been in the front for the whole race, not putting a foot wrong. They've done a fantastic job so far, avoiding those issues. But once again, lap traffic becomes the issue, and 4 going into 1 corner does not work here.
No, it doesn't, and it's not the first time we've seen it in the last 50, 60 laps. Unfortunately, it's taken a lot of the front runners out. But Carl, how do you overtake Jason Martin? I mean, he looks untouchable on that inside line. The outside line doesn't seem quick enough. You know, what do these guys behind do? You've only got 13 laps to go. Jason is untouchable.
The easiest way to get past Martin is just give him a little bit of a rub on the back. Unfortunately, he is very good, he's very fast, and he's not going to let you pass with ease. The only way to get past him is to really push him and really pressure him, and I don't know if anyone's going to have enough speed to do that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. We're going to run without a pit stop now to the end. Nobody needs to come in. They're going to be able to save fuel under this yellow. This caution's going to mean they're going to save fuel to the end. There's not a question of that anymore. But it's going to be who can actually do the best job now of getting up there and getting into a good little train. You've got Chris Purnell, who's worked his way up to 3rd place. Just awesome driving from Chris. He's just managed to weave his way through all of that chaos and get up into 3rd place again. Despite being involved in about 4 crashes this race, I think.
Yeah.
But Chris Purnell has managed to get up there again. As I said, it's been a long race for these guys. There's been a lot of things happening, and there's been a lot of incidents as well, unfortunately.
I mean, if you're an Illusion or JP Simshed who has teammates sitting ready to go that high line, surely you're communicating now and you're saying, all right, guys, it's bump draft time. The only way you're going to beat Jason Martin from here is the outside line bump draft. You're not going to overtake on the outside line.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these guys, because yeah, it's going to be a thing of there's going to get the 2 lines forming, and whoever gets in the lead and gets the push from behind is going to be the winner here. You might get somebody trying to do a last minute run with the draft and try and jump out and try and get across the line in 1st place. We've seen that end in a couple of tragedies, unfortunately. I think the Thunder Series, which Purnell actually won. Chris Purnell actually did win in the Thunder Series, but there were cars going all different directions across the finish line on that one. So Purnell might be looking to try, hoping for a similar situation where he gets a win from that. But it's going to be that thing of who can keep in front of the cars, who has teammates working for them behind them. I think is going to be the big winner.
It's going to be huge.
But yeah, at the moment, it's going to be, honestly, if Purnell can get himself up in front of the JP Simshed boys and keep himself there, he could be looking in a good position right now. If Foster, Carroll Walden, and Hartigan can actually sort of work it out as well, it could work out well for them too. It's gonna. I don't know who's gonna win this one. It's anyone's race.
We've got a 10-lap sprint to the finish. This is brutal. I mean, we're talking about 3 hours plus racing. We've got 10 laps to win arguably one of the biggest races of the year. We've got 2 Mitch Motorsport cars have the inside and outside line. Do they stick to that line and block everyone off? It's time to get aggressive now. If you want to win this race, you got to make a move.
You do, and just speaking of time driven, Foster, of course, Edward Foster was driving in the Mount Panorama Drivers Club race prior to this one, a big long endurance race, and he's jumped straight into the Daytona 500. So He's
he'll be
going to
in good
be
shape.
Yeah, I imagine he's a little bit tired, and I imagine he's going to be wanting to get a win out of this one for sure. But yeah, these drivers have been doing a lot today, and it really takes it out of you. Just racing at Daytona
It
for
does.
500 laps is enough, but when you're doing more endurance races, especially at places like Bathurst, that's really going to tire you out pretty quickly.
Oh, it's huge. Last weekend I did the Bathurst 12-hour, did 2 stints, then I did the Daytona 500, and let me tell you, Carl, I slept well that night.
I can imagine so. It's yeah, it's a good way of getting the arm exercise and helping for insomnia sometimes.
The missus wasn't happy, but I'm sure the missus of these boys would be happy if they win the Daytona.
And we're
10
back to
laps
green
to go.
flag. 10 laps to go, as you say, green flag racing. And it looks like Martin's going to go for the high line. He's gone up to the high line with Danny G, and Skurlock is down in the low line. He's looking in a good position. Foster's going to get down below Skurlock and is going to help push him. And that's going to push these Mitch Motorsport cars onto the outside line where they haven't run much this race. So they've not been running on the outside line much this race. I'm trying to think back, and I don't think Jason Martin and Danny G have run on the outside at all. But they've also got the help of is that Joshua Carroll Walton. No, it's not Carroll Walton, sorry. But Hamish Gallagher behind them. Hamish Gallagher's giving them a good little push right now and helping them along. But yeah, who knows right from here? And I think there's a lap to illusion car just behind Foster now as well. So it's looking pretty good for these guys. They've got a few extra cars to help them out now.
Oh, this is incredible, Carl. I mean, the DG is bump drafting Jason Martin. So as I said on the outside line, they are literally bump drafting, which is so risky around here. DG is pushing his teammate down the straight. Unbelievable.
And this is again where problems can occur. We've seen it before with bump drafting, of course, because you're putting an enormous strain on your car, and there's a lot of heat going through that engine. It could be it could easily go wrong for Mitch Motorsport if Danny G's engine goes pop.
I just can't believe they've given that inside line to Chris Purnell and Ed Foster. So Chris Purnell and Ed Foster, that inside line, a huge advantage there given by Mitch Motorsport. Very risky going that outside line with only 8 laps to go.
Yeah, they're in a really good position at the moment. They've got, let's see who that the other car was, the 94 of the Illusion team. Just sitting there. So Scott Butler is just sitting behind Foster right now, and he's actually splitting up Foster from the... And Martin goes down in front of Purnell and just dropped down in front of him, blocked him off there. Foster was looking to possibly try and go 3 wide there, and he's still maybe thinking about it. He's sitting in the middle of them, and he's going 3 wide across the triangle. He's 3 wide. Danny G's gone round. Oh, huge crash for Martin. Huge crash for Martin. Foster has made it through pretty much clear. Foster and Purnell have made it through. Like Moses parting the sea there. A chaos all around them, and those guys have somehow made it through. But that has just destroyed Mitch Motorsport's day. Foster just getting caught up in the sandwich between Gallagher and Purnell there. But Danny G just getting caught on the outside, going in front of Foster. Foster did get a big bump on the right-hand side, but it doesn't look too bad. Danny G actually helped Foster out with his second part of the crash, pushing Foster straight again. Jason Martin has got huge damage on the front, so has Danny G. Those guys are pretty much out of this, unfortunately. Chris Purnell is looking good at the moment. He's got the lead.
Unbelievable. Oh, I cannot believe it. Ed Foster's made a huge move. As we said, we knew he was going to make a move. You picked it 10 laps ago, Carl. And he decides to go right through the middle of the 2 lines to create 3 lines, but 3 into 2 doesn't go. And the Mitch Motorsport guys will be absolutely furious. They're both out of the race. Chris Purnell's now effectively in the lead. Unbelievable.
It's worked out very well for Chris Purnell. Another guy it's not too bad for is Joshua Carroll Walden. And Daniel Stevens has got back up into fourth place. We thought his race was over, and he's back in fourth place. Another guy that's done pretty well out of this is Dave Douglas, who was sitting down in the midfield for a fair part of that race after an incident, is now sitting in fifth place.
Just unbelievable.
With Ryan MacArthur behind him, and then Scott Butler just there. Scott Butler's got a lot of damage, but you've got 3 Illusion cars now in the top 6 that have, well, all bits of their bodywork on. They're not necessarily straight, but they've got bits of bodywork on their car still. Foster, I imagine, will have quite a bit of damage to his right front suspension. The outside of the car doesn't look too badly damaged, in all honesty, so it's just going to be who goes from there. But then sitting pretty just in third place is JCW, who's just been working his way up the field, not really making much of a show all day. He's just been sitting there and quietly working his way up. And, he's, oh, gosh.
Oh, there's no cars in this top 6 that don't have damage, I think, except for Jason Hardigan, who we haven't spoken about the last hour, who's now... Oh, sorry, no.
He's a lap down, unfortunately. So 2 laps down
Dave Douglas, I told you, if Dave Douglas wins, I'll give you a carton of beer. And he's in 6th position. I don't know how that's even possible, but... that accident has just shaken the whole race up. Unbelievable.
If you know Double D, you know never to bet on him winning a race, because you'll usually lose that bet. He's very good at keeping consistent and out of trouble, and he's done that again. Bloody brilliant job from those guys. But what a dramatic moment to the race. Lap 195 of 200. We're getting very, very close to the finish right now. Wow. I wouldn't even call out the fact that we might see a green white checker for this race. Who knows what's going to happen?
I just feel a bit bad for the Bitch Motorsport guys at the moment, though. It wasn't probably 10, 15 minutes ago we were talking about them 3 line astern, had control of the race. After the restart, went high line, we had one come down inside line. And then in that accident, they're all gone. They're all out of the race.
It's look, as I said, you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the Daytona 500, and we didn't. We were well off. That ruins our credibility for the day. Yeah, but
I failed.
Yeah, look, Chris Purnell, Foster, JCW, and Dave Douglas. Those guys have been up there. Daniel Stevens as well. So
Chris Purnell, is he pitting?
He is.
I don't believe it. He didn't have enough fuel.
Has Purnell run out of fuel? Well, he's on the same fuel load as everybody else. So maybe the damage.
Believe it.
Possibly the damage there for Purnell. That's the only thing I could think of is damage for the car. Maybe it's been causing him issues. Maybe he's overheating or something. Because he's coming to the pits and he's sitting there for a while. So.
Wow. So Ed Foster takes the lead of the Daytona 500.
The only other thing I can think of, actually, is possibly maybe he's just getting the car a bit straighter, or... No, he's coming in. It looks like he's getting repairs done. Wow. Maybe he was overheating and he just had to come in, or he's just getting the car fixed up for this final run, so he's clean, because he's still going to be... He's still going to be on the lead lap, and seeing there's only 12 cars on the lead lap, and most of them are also in the pit lane or got incredible amounts of damage, he could be in for a shot here. He's actually come out in... Chris Purnell's currently, I think, in 9th place, but the cars in front of him are all missing bits. They're all damaged. So, is that the right call? Has he made an absolute genius call here, or has he just thrown away his race? I don't know, in all honesty.
Surely you had to get fuel. I mean, there's no way you'd be pitting for damage with 3 laps to go. I think he was short on fuel. That'd be my pick.
The amount of damage he had on the car, though, maybe he wasn't...
Being caught up. You might be right, Carl.
Yeah, he just wasn't confident of running in clean air, and just needed to get that front looked at, because obviously with that amount of bodywork damage on there, the aero's going to be absolutely shocking. He's had a little bit of a taste of some clean air, and maybe he's just gone, look, I'm not going to have a chance in this, so I'm going to stop. The cars in front of him are all extremely damaged. You've got people like Neil Pearson, Scott Butler, Phil Otto, all of them missing the front end of the car. None of them with a front end to the car. They've just got their radiators exposed. So
This
yeah,
is
maybe
brutal.
Purnell's just making a bit of a call there to give it a bit of a shot, try and die moment, and see what he can do for that.
Ed Foster, Carl, it was an incident there. If he goes on to win this, is it controversial? We might hear a little bit more after the race. Or do you think it was okay?
Look, if there's the awful old saying
Spicy.
from Senna.
Spicy.
Yeah, look, if you don't go for a gap, you're not racing. But sometimes honor is the better part of valor. Sorry, and you know, just taking that position can be good for the championship. With the accident that happened, it was tight, but I think it was a bit of a racing incident in all honesty. It's a real shame for Mitch Motorsport because they're effectively out of this race. So we've lost Danny G and Jason Martin from this race. A big shame for those because they haven't put a foot wrong all race. They've done a fantastic job. All three of their cars have been amazing all race. Josh Micklemore just managing to get the car back up there. Awesome job all race long. But for it to end like this is a real shame. But the long season's still ahead of us, and
it's a car trying to pierce its way through the entire middle of the pack back there. But yeah, here we go. 3 laps to go. Can Ed Foster hang on for the big win, the Daytona 500?
He gets a good bit of a restart there. He's got JCW on his outside, so that's going to help him. Daniel Stevens is sitting there as well. Daniel Stevens is right there, and JCW's got a decent run. He's got Dave Douglas behind him. Will this be JCW getting in front? JCW's got a bit less damage to the car, maybe. They're pretty bad, but Dave Douglas is making it 3 wide now. Dave Douglas does not care. He's going 3 wide. He's going for this. Dave Douglas has got the lead with Neil Pearson behind him, missing the whole front end of the car. Cooling's not going to be an issue for him. Dave Douglas has just made an amazing run there. What a fantastic job for him. And Foster's just dropping back to Daniel Stevens. Looks like Joshua Carroll-Walden has got Hamish Gallagher just behind him, I think. This is really helping out, but I think the damage to Foster after that accident has just lost him so much speed. He's just so much slower than the rest of the cars. He's just fallen back. And JCW is now making a good run on him. So JCW is getting a good push here, and Dave Douglas is getting a push from Neil Pearson right now. Neil Pearson has somehow made his way back up to the top end of this field after an earlier incident and getting involved in that last incident as well. Fantastic job for him. Purnell is actually back in the pit lane, so I think it was something more terminal for him, unfortunately. But wow, what else is going to happen as we come on to...
1 to go.
1 to go. The white flag is out, and it is...
Hybrid Racing Simulations, 1 to go.
Yes, absolutely. Hybrid Racing Simulation, white flag is out. 1 lap to go. Who's going to win this race? It's looking good for Dave Douglas right now. Who would have thought that earlier in the race? But Joshua Carroll-Walden's getting a good bit of push right now. He's getting a little bit of side draft. He's really getting a push from Hardigan. Pearson's engine is blown. Pearson's engine is blown. This is going to be great for Joshua Carroll-Walden. He's got somebody pushing him, helping him out. And that's left Dave Douglas with no partner. This could be Joshua Carroll-Walden's race to win.
He's won it, surely.
I'm not going to say anything, but this is looking great for JCW right here. Oh, my word. And JCW, Dave Douglas is getting a little bit of a pull. Will he be able to do it? I don't think so. JCW crossed the line, and it's a win for Joshua Carroll-Walden. Oh, my word.
Unbelievable.
JP Simshed take the win in their first race in the ANZCAR lead. Not the car we thought it was going to be on that restart, but JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden, finished the season off strong, and he started it stronger this year, winning the Daytona 500. Oh, my.
Well, it couldn't have gone to a better guy. He's such a good racer. Really, really top bloke. And he's come from absolutely nowhere to win the big one.
Dave Douglas manages to get second place. Matt Allison in third. Matt Allison leading the race early on, made an early pit stop, and sort of lost himself contention, was running almost 2 laps down at one stage, I'm pretty sure. He's managed to get 3rd place. Edward Foster got 4th. Daniel Stevens was 5th in the end. Ryan DeCarthy MacArthur 6th. Hamish Gallagher 7th. Bill Otto in 9th. And the last car on the lead lap was Scott Butler. He managed to get 9th place. Neil Pearson ended up in 10th after the engine blown, with Josh Micklemore in 11th. 12th was Chris Purnell. Unfortunately, issues with that car. Jason Hartigan managed 13th. He was 2 laps down. Then we had Jason Martin, Raymond Yeager, Danny G, Brett Gerditz, Dorman Clark, Tristan Koch, Stephen Williams, Lindsay Hobbs, Jonathan Hancock, Mirko Dornak, Matt Hunter, Riley Curtis, James Roby, Matthew Clert, Bradley Kemp, Mick Skurlock, Michael Cracknell, Simon Sirocco, Ryan Bull, and Matthew Latterer all out of the race in finishing in those order. But JCW there just taking the win almost from nowhere. What a finish.
Oh, he's come from nowhere. He's just done some beautiful doughies in front of the crowd now. I think he's driving backwards.
Doing the reverse victory lap. The old reverse victory lap. Started in 16th position, JCW. Managed to get the win.
Well, we didn't pick that, Carl. And
No.
luckily, he's actually saved me about $40-50 because Dave Douglas in second there, I almost had to buy you a card. So JCW comes from absolutely nowhere. I'm just stoked. What a race. That's as good as it gets.
I was saying before about engines blowing at the end of the race with this pushing, and Neil Pearson's did. If Neil Pearson's engine had ran without any trouble, Dave Douglas had that win. Dave Douglas coming from nowhere. He was sitting far back, and he managed to get there. Just incredible. Matt Allison, I believe Matt Allison's one of the newer drivers to the series. So in the rookie sort of championship for the virtual motorsport mentor, he's looking good for his first race out, looking for that rookie of the year title. Fantastic job for Matt Allison. Brilliant job from him.
Yeah.
But Joshua Carroll Walden wins the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup race of the Daytona 500. Wow,
I'm blown away. I don't even know what to say. Just a fascinating race from start to finish, and every person that we picked didn't win. And JCW, we really didn't talk about too much. Came and hit the lead. I don't think he led the race at all until the last lap.
I think he only had like 1 or 2 laps led there. There weren't many for sure. Oh gosh, it was that was one heck of a finish.
Daytona at its finest, I'll call that.
Yeah.
Now, do we get the drivers up in here for a chat, or
we will do? Yeah. So
awesome.
We'll just let them jump in. So they are jumping into the green room. So what we will do is we will grab our winner of that race, the number 35, Joshua Carroll Walden. Joshua Carroll Walden, Carl be here.
What a win, mate! What a win,
guys! What a race! Hope you enjoyed that. What a finish!
Well, I said at the end of last season, I hope to see you up in the booth again this time next year. Sort of seeing you up in the booth for some more races this year. And on the first race, you've managed to do it. Simshed Broadcasting has got you as your first winner. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. I don't know if you remember, but Kansas last year, you put the luck on me, and I won in Texas, and yeah, man, you keep doing it. You're my superpower, Carl. Just keep saying that, man, and we'll be all sweet. But yeah, holy hell, man. First cup race for JP Simshed, first cup race on the Simshed TV, and the stars just aligned perfectly. Started P16, made my way up early, and then it was just a roller coaster from there on. So, yeah, but guys, I'm a Daytona 500 champion, man. That's never going to be taken away from me.
Good on you, Josh.
Yeah,
that
thanks,
is
buddy.
Got to be an amazing feeling for you, Josh. Look, the end of that race was pretty dang tight. It looked like Dave Douglas might have had you there for a few moments, and then all of a sudden Neil Pearson's engine let go, and it just helped you with Hardigan behind you. Just opened up the positions for you. But it was a heck of a tough race as well. There were a fair few big, high-speed incidents there, which you managed to avoid most of. I believe you got caught in a couple of them, though.
Yeah, man, I did. Most notably, there was the one on the back straight that didn't cause a yellow, where I just got tagged while I was on the inside line, and from there, I got all my optional repairs fixed, but I was carrying damage for the whole race. But towards the end, every car was having damage, so yeah. But like, I've done Sip Speedway racing, restricted plate racing for a long time now. I know how to avoid wrecks. I know where to go, where the safe parts of the track are, and yeah, I can't believe that. Like, I've just read I led 3 of the 200 laps. That's that's incredible. That's how you win around Daytona. You only need to lead lap 200.
You led the most important lap. Look, it doesn't matter if you lead the lap at the start of the race. It's the finish of the race that matters, and you did that. You led the finish of the race. Just fantastic for you. I got to ask you as well. How much has it helped being with a team this season? Like, how much has this first race been different for you now having a big team behind you?
Yeah, man, it's it's a great support network. Like, I've got to thank big thanks to Edward because he's the one who approached me and came after me. So yeah, man, if it wasn't for Edward, someone else would have probably won today. Um, and yeah, JP, he's been super accommodating. All the guys at JP Simshed, through the Daytona 24 hour, the build up for this, the setup work, all the work we've done behind the scenes, it's been fantastic. And yeah, JP Simshed being in the team, it is fucking awesome. Apologies for the language, but yeah, it's been incredible. Yeah, in the lead up, and it will definitely continue throughout the year, through the regular season, and through some of the other races as well.
I think we'll have to let you have that one because I think you're pretty happy about that win. No, just congratulations. Matt, anything you'd like to ask JCW?
Not so much ask. I just need to congratulate you, mate. I said in the broadcast when you finish, you're a great guy. I know how much you work for these races. People don't probably realise the amount of hours people put in. I know you put in a huge amount of effort, so you deserve it, mate. It's what all the effort you do comes in, and you've won the big one, mate. You've won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, this is as big as it gets, man. Honestly, I think the championship is on the same level. Yeah, this is incredible. Like, I was on holiday like a week or so ago, and as soon as I got to the airport on the flight home, I basically messaged the team, said, "Yep, okay, vacation's over. Update me with the car and everything, and what we can do." And yeah, from there, as soon as that wrapped up, I've been so focused on this, and yeah, it's paid dividends. Like, there were so many people that signed up for this race, and so many people that want to be in the team, like JP Simshed, and yeah, I'm just so thankful to everyone that's helped me along the way, because, like, Texas last year, that was sensational, but this is on a completely different level. I'll never forget this, man.
Good on you, mate. Good on you.
You'll have to go back and watch the broadcast now. You've got that for your future as well. You can keep on just watching it. So you've got Daytona this year. So obviously, I've got to ask you: you're focusing for the end of the season for the championship?
Yeah, man. Basically, it's a very long championship. I'm gonna take it race by race. Pretty sure the next one is at Vegas. And then the All Star race there, I came second and very close to winning there. So yeah, I think I'm in really, really good form right now. Obviously the summer winter break hasn't stopped me. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep chugging along, man, doing what I can, doing my own thing, having fun, and yeah, whatever I'm doing right now, it seems working. So yeah, the show is gonna roll on.
Wonderful.
You, Josh.
Yeah, we'll miss the rainbow car a bit, but yeah, you're doing fantastic this season. So, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight, Mr. JCW?
Oh man, yeah. Shout out to Edward. Yeah, thanks for bringing me on board, mate. Shout out to Jason, man. Yeah, Jason, mate. Without you, I wouldn't have won today. Thanks for the awesome push. Thanks to Norman as well, and the rest of the guys at JP Simshed. Shout out to our sponsors, Abruzzi Racewear, Goodyear Tire and Auto, Jinx Shifters, Drive Sim, Yeah, all the other minor sponsors that help us out. You guys are all awesome. Thanks very much. And yeah, man. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry, but yeah, I just can't believe this. This has got to be the most unprofessional Daytona 500 interview ever.
Well done, mate.
Thank you so much, Josh. Yeah, and we will see you again up here, I'm sure, sometime this season.
Yep, no worries. Thanks, guys. See ya.
See you, Josh.
Joshua Carroll-Walton there, taking the win out. First win of 2020 for the Abruzzi ANZCAR Cup here at Daytona. First time out with JP Simshed for the team, so first win for them. Absolutely brilliant job there. And as you can tell by JCW, he is just elated by that victory.
Yeah, fantastic win. That's as big as it gets if you're a sim racer who's in oval racing, Daytona 500, and he's done it. So it's good to hear.
Okay, we'll grab down Mr. Dave Douglas now.
A carton of beer, man.
Yes, I'll let him know that he's cost me a carton of beer. Dave Douglas, Cole Vinny here. How you going?
Hey, g'day. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. That was a bit of a long, chaotic race for you.
Yeah, the first part was pretty good when I was up front. And unfortunately, Skurlock blew his motor. I think it just put us back in the field, and I just could not get back to that front because I just kept getting taken out by pretty average stuff out there. But anyway, that's Daytona. It's the nature of the beast.
Well, when you were taken out, Dave, at one point, I said to Carl that if you were to win from here, that I would buy Carl a carton of beer, and mate, you were probably about half a metre away from costing me about $40 to $50. I don't know how you came back, but you did it. How did you crawl back all of those positions?
Look, I don't know. As I said, because there's incident points in here now, so I got a black flag, so I had to take that on the second last restart. So I went a lap down, and then they wrecked, and then I avoided that wreck. It damaged my engine by avoiding it because I launched through the air. Somehow I ended up fifth on that last restart, and I just went for it. And I wasn't sure what was going on in front. I thought Edward was holding the pack up to try and let Josh down in front of him, but they all had damage, so I just took the run 3 wide, managed to get around there. It's just unfortunate that the 9 blew up behind me, but it's not his fault. He gave me all he could, and that's all he could give me. So, fortunately, come away with a second.
Oh, look, an incredible second place for you. I mean, I think you've been involved in pretty much every crash tonight. Not your own fault, but just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But some amazing avoiding action as well by you. I got to say, there were a few wrecks out there where you managed to just sail it through without any trouble, which was just brilliant to watch. But yeah, real unfortunate. Oh, fortunate to get second still, but unfortunate for having Neil Pearson blow his engine because when that happened, I got to say we weren't expecting it. We thought you might have got the win here.
Yeah, I thought I might have been on as well, and then I was, as I said, just cruising down the straight, and I heard it go bang. Oh no! And I didn't know who Josh had with him. I didn't realise it was a teammate, so I just tried to sort of try and break them a bit, but I couldn't get them. And then, as I said, I had a bit of engine damage, so if I had a full engine, I think I would have got the run to the flag there in the outside of them. But yeah, look, it's second place. It's good, but yeah, it's disappointing. I don't know, to come where I came from to get to that lead, and then anyway, got past on the last lap. It is what it is. Well done to Josh.
Well, that was an interesting thing, Dave, that you're talking about the teammate battle there with the push that JCW got at the end. But was it hard out there, battling the likes of Mitch Motorsport, JP Simshed, and perhaps not having the guys around you to give you that final push, I suppose, sort of when you needed it?
Yeah, we all got caught up in our own separate incidences. So unfortunately, we were all over the page really at the end of the day. And like I said, somehow I lobbed up into fifth there. I know Ryan Cartier was up there, I believe, with me, but I think he had damage as well. Everyone had damage, so it was really strange one in there. But it's a shame for the Mitch guys too. I know they were up there for a long time, and they've been working well, and they were quick, so they'd be disappointed I didn't come away with anything out of that.
A lot of heartbreak from today's race as well. It's been one of those races where it's been, I think everything possible could have happened this race, unfortunately. But great drive from you just to get second place. I mean, congratulations, and congratulations for getting the second place in your new team with Illusion. Illusion, unfortunately, had a bit of got involved in a few incidents as well. Real shame for them because they came out in force and were having a fantastic race as well.
Yeah, that's it, mate. But we'll live and learn, mate. We'll move on to Vegas next Thursday, I believe it is, and we'll see how we go there. We'll be back and we'll see how we go.
We can never count you out, that's for sure. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight, Mr. Dave Douglas?
Same as the other day, just the Illusion boys, Illusion Motorsport, Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Those guys are doing what they do there. It's great to see what Chris is doing, and just as I said, all the teammates and for what it's worth, for the guys up front when we're racing clean, it was good fun. So cheers to those guys, and obviously the Sim Shed guys too for the broadcast.
Well driven, Dave. Really well done, mate.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks so much, Dave. We'll see you again at some stage.
Thanks.
Douglas there for Illusion Motorsport. Yeah, look, it was a day of heartbreak and just drama. I think everything could happen, did happen there, and it was a bit of a long one.
Yeah, a miracle for Dave to get where he was. So he sounds a bit disappointed, but that's probably one of the better drives I think I've ever seen to come where he did, and he should be pretty proud of himself.
Oh look, he did a fantastic job getting up there. He's done a fantastic job all race long, and brilliant job for him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab Chris Purnell down, just have a quick chat to him, just ask him what happened at the end of that race and see how he went. So unfortunately we don't have our P3 driver up in the area, so we'll just grab down Chris Purnell and see how he's going. Chris Purnell, Carl Withy here, and SimShed Broadcasting. I have to keep reminding myself of the name of the stream. How are you going? Good. I'm glad to hear you're all good. It was a bit of a not the best end for the race there for you. I mean, it was a bit of a chaotic final 100 laps.
Yeah, it's I sort of rode around in the back early, and it probably cost me a bit of track position, and I had a few issues along the way, so I kind of fell off that lead pack by about 20 seconds. And me and Josh sort of just got together and tried the best to sort of catch back up, but it was just lucky the cautions fell when they did to get us back some track position. And then the last 30 laps is really just the blur, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we pointed you out with around 60, 70 laps to go, making your way through the field, and we made mention of the fact that you always seem to make yourself available, no matter what car you're in at the pointy end of the field, and with not too much to go, you're right up the front there, and unfortunately, it just didn't fall your way.
Yeah, that's it. I worked pretty hard in the background, trying to get everything I can out of myself in the cars at each race that I attempt. So I pride myself on doing the best I can for sure. So, but yeah, it's just one of them things, man. It's plate racing. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, I'm not angry about it. It's just pretty wide wreck, It would have been all right. The damage wasn't that bad, but I got black flagged for crossing the green cone just on the exit and a 55-second hold. So that's what cost me the lead lap. If I didn't get that, I would have been fine. I probably would have been able to get back up and give Dave a good old shunt at the end of the race.
Yeah, we were wondering what happened there. Okay, so black flag. That's unlucky.
Yeah, speeding in pits and unsafe entry on the exit. So that's what does it.
Right.
Really unfortunate there because you sort of managed to bounce back a few times in that race. I think it was the story of the race, people just bouncing back after incident after incident. As you say, the cream rises to the top sometimes, and you guys were just managing to get back up there, and then all of a sudden everything was dropping you back down. Look, fantastic job for you guys in the Illusion. It was a real shame to see so many of you get involved in those incidents, unfortunately, because I know you've put a lot of effort into this one. Still, second place for Dave Douglas as well, so fresh to the team. So some goodish news for you guys.
Yeah, that's it. We've had a pretty solid week. We've had a podium in every ANZCAR event this week, so and a win. So yeah, it's going well. It's definitely positive to build on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you guys will be someone to watch for sure. I mean, you've got a really strong driver lineup this year. The cars are looking nice. I think second place today and many races to come. You guys are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, fingers crossed, man. It's that's what you hope for. Last year was a bit of a slow year for us, so we've put in a lot more effort this year to be back on near the top of the ladder.
Wonderful. We look forward to seeing you up here in the booth a little bit more this season, Chris, and of course all your drivers as well. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight?
I'll just thank all the boys from Illusion Motorsport. They've been working super hard with everything, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'll thank the ANZCAR admin for all their hard work. You guys up at AP SimShed and the SimShed Broadcasting, and Virtual Motorsport Mentor.
Thank you so much, Chris, and
Thanks, Chris.
we'll catch you again a bit later in the season.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
See you, Chris.
Okay, third place man Matt Allison has actually jumped up, so we're going to grab him down.
You should be pretty pumped.
Matt Allison, welcome to the booth. Congratulations, and how are you going?
Well done.
I'm absolutely stoked.
Woohoo!
I can't believe that. That was an absolutely wicked race.
Well done, mate.
Cheers, cheers.
You had a bit of a rubber band race there. You were up the front and then all of a sudden at the back and then up the front again. It went quite well for the end part for you. What happened in the middle?
I thought I'd roll the dice about 16 with that caution, 16 laps in, and just send it to the front. But yeah, the guy I've never driven in this league before, and the guys are just so good. So I didn't get the caution that I wanted. So I had the green flag pit stop a lot earlier than everyone else. And I'm not really used to oval racing. I normally do road racing, and I hadn't been practicing my green flag pit stop. So coming into the pits, it was a bit messy for the first two green flags. So I ended up getting, I think it was like 2-minute 20 stop and holds there over the two pit stops. I was back to 29th with three laps down, 4 laps down it was. So it was just through getting wave arounds, and then when that last caution came out 6 laps from the end and I got the lucky dog, I was cheering. And then everyone, the seas just parted on the restart because everyone's car was so damaged. And next thing you know, I crossed the line and I'm in third. I'm like, what?
You are the lucky dog, my friend. You are the lucky dog tonight.
That was crazy. What a crazy race.
It's a funny thing actually, because when you came in for your pit stop after that when you came in for your green flag stop, we sort of said and then got held up, and we sort of thought it was probably a penalty or something, and we were sort of going, oh yeah, unfortunately that chance is gone. But you never know at Daytona, things can happen, and well, they certainly did. You managed to get third place in your first race here in the ANZCAR League at Daytona as well, the 500.
The big one.
What a fantastic job, and fantastic job as well as being also new to ovals as well. You know, rookie of the race for you for sure.
That was just nuts.
Oh well, we hope to see you some more times this season, because you've definitely got some speed out there, and it's just that sort of you will get used to it, but it's a very different racing style on ovals for sure.
Yeah, so it certainly is. There's a lot more concentration, that's for sure.
Did you enjoy it?
Absolutely loved it. I think even if I would have finished, 2 laps down, I still had a great time. So, really stoked, and thanks to everyone at ANZCAR as well for putting on these events. So, I'll definitely be back for Vegas next week.
We look forward to seeing you there, and this season we do have the virtual Motorsport motor for the Rookie of the Year for the ANZCAR League as well, which will if you manage to get that with results like that, you might well get the Rookie of the Year. They're offering mentoring for the winner of that, so you could be in for a good shout on that.
Yeah, cool, awesome,
lovely. Well, look, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to for tonight? Any sponsors and things like that?
Yeah, I'd like to give the boys a shout out at BRM Sim Sports. They've just taken me on. I've moved teams recently, and yeah, they've been awesome. It's been good fun after being 3 years with Race on Oz. So
congratulations, well done on your first one as well. Look, getting third on your first attempt is a hard thing to do, and look, you've earned it. You had a fantastic drive, and you've just managed to keep your nose clean, and that's the important thing to do at Daytona.
Yeah, it's all patience.
Well done, Matty.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so we're going to grab down. Finally, I'm going to grab down Edward Foster if he's still awake, and we'll see how he's going.
Be interesting.
Edward Foster.
Hey.
Carl Withy here. I hope you're all well.
Hey, how you going?
Yeah,
How
good Ed.
tired are you right now?
I'm all right. I'm actually on a bit of a buzz. I'm okay. I'm all right. I reckon I'll sleep well. But,
Yeah.
I'm having a yeah. I'm going well. I'm going well.
Adrenaline
mate-
has kicked in.
Oh yeah.
With about 20, 30 laps to go, Carl and I said Ed is going to make a move at some stage.
You have to.
The
You have to.
move, you have to. That's right. We agreed. The move came, I think, with about 11 or 12 laps remaining.
It was about
Straight-
7 to go.
7 to go.
193, yeah.
Straight through the middle.
Yep.
What happened?
So basically, it's look the Daytona 500. You do it once a year, and if you're that close, you get you get single digits from the end. You've got to have a go. You've got to have a go. It's go time. So I went through the middle. I had a lot of tape on the front of my car because I wanted quick as possible, and I did warn the guys I was coming through the middle. I said to them a couple of times, guys, I'm coming through. I'm coming through. I'm coming through. And yeah, it looks as though we just didn't have enough space to go 3 wide. It's a bit disappointing because Daytona, you can run 3 wide. It's wide enough to run 3 wide. We proved that earlier in the race. And obviously, we got guys all wanting to go for the win. We've got Jason up there and Danny up there as well. And, these are all guys who are my mates and I respect a lot. And, obviously you don't want to have an accident, but at the same time, you get one chance a year to win the Daytona 500. And if I waited until next year, I could get wrecked on lap 1, get caught up in somebody else's wreck. So if you're in the lead pack at the end, you've just got to take your chances and you've got to go. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I'm just actually got the replay up in front of us at the moment. Like I say, I was warning him over the radio consistently. I'm coming through the middle, and I'm not sure if Danny tried to throw a block or if he just reacted too late or what. But unfortunately, he spun into poor old Jason, who did nothing wrong at all, and the carnage followed. But anyway, the team got the win in the end.
Yeah, it was a bit of a big incident there, and Danny G actually, I think he hit you twice and managed to get you going straight again because otherwise you're going into a wall. But look, racing incidents happen sometimes. There's been quite a few incidents over the tri-oval this weekend as well. It's been a bit slippery and a bit loose over there for sure, and it's just one of those things. Daytona is the race everyone wants to win, and you tried it and it didn't work out so well for you, but you did manage to get 4th place in the end. So
yeah, I'm stunned.
Yeah.
Because the car was stuffed. I could see way more of the bonnet than I wanted to see. And, it was kind of lumpy everywhere and everything. And I knew that I had Josh and Jason behind me, sort of behind me where they were. And I was actually saying to them, I said, look, guys, I'm not going to have the speed off the start. You guys are going to be able to get a run going. This is what you have to do. And after they went past me, I'm sitting there and I'm telling them what to do. I'm saying, go high now, go low now, etc., and just directing them. So, it was great to see him be able to get across the line first. Even if Jason was actually a lap down. I couldn't. I want to say I couldn't be happier, but I could be happier. I'd be happier if I won it. But failing that, it's really, really awesome. Especially as this team, I've been sort of working on putting this together for quite a number of months now, and yeah, just to have these guys that were handpicked from the beginning to go out there and get the job done in the biggest race of the year, honestly I couldn't be prouder of them.
Well, you had your teammate JCW give you a big shout out to you specifically for the help setting up the car tonight, and that's got to make you feel good when you get recognition of the winner, recognizing you specifically for the hard work you put in, and I suppose that's the benefit you have of being part of a team.
Yeah, I mean the credit for that's really got to go to Roger. It's not my setup. I did a lot of testing and tried to tell Roger what we needed from the car, but he's the guy who knows all the bits and pieces and knows what to do. And he's been ringing me and asking me questions and this and that, and just giving us all the possible chance that we could to do what we did tonight and win the race. So even though he's not here, these cars, as you saw them on the track tonight, they're his. The driving characteristics that they displayed were because of him. So, I've also got to, if Josh gave me credit for that, that's great. But really, Roger was the architect behind how pacey the car was.
The magician, Roger Clark.
He was, mate. He absolutely was. So if you're watching, Rog, thanks very much. Look what you did.
Look, fantastic job, and it was. Look, the first 100 laps, everybody was very cautious. We had that sort of one caution at the start, and then there was a couple of offs that didn't bring out any cautions, and then the final 100 happened, and there was quite a few bounce backs as well. A lot of people sort of end up getting involved in wrecks and managing to get back up there. We were just talking to Matt Allison in third place. Who was 4 laps down at one stage in that race and managed to get third place in the end. It was a hard race.
Yeah, so look, it is always a hard race, and you even look at real life. I mean, look at the highlights and stuff that you see of NASCAR in real life, especially on the super speedways. There's wrecks like this. I think a car that looked even worse than mine won the Clash the other day in real life. So, there big cars getting beat up, and that's the way that sort of. I don't really want to say that NASCAR sort of sets these things up to create big wrecks and stuff, but they certainly design the cars to give that kind of action. So it's not unusual to have wrecks like that. It's unfortunate that there are lots of guys that get involved in stuff, but that's the nature of it. You're inches apart from people for 500 miles, which is about it's more than a Sandown 500, which takes 2 drivers. It's a long, long way at very high speed, managing airflow and all these other bits and pieces, trying to keep your motors cool, trying to work strategy, trying to get on and off a pit road well. And it's just, it's a bloody difficult race. And you see that. So, it's good to see guys like Matt who've come along to get up there and get a good result after he looked to be out of it early. Dave, he had his fair share of problems tonight, but he managed to get up there into P2. So, there's some really, really good drivers in this series, and you got to show the aggression and everything else. But we're going to be on for a really good year this year, I think, team wise and competition wise, league wise.
Going to be an exciting one. We look forward to getting to Las Vegas next week, and sort of starting. I mean, the Daytona 500, of course, is the start of the season, but it's almost like the season proper next week, where we have the slightly shorter races, but on the sort of more traditional sort of ovals, where you tend to get a little bit sort of not quite as much sort of random luck sometimes on these super speedways.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're much more in control of your own destiny on those tracks. This is skill comes into it, but you're also at the mercy of so many of the circumstances that happen around you. There are so many skillful drivers left up the front at the end, but there are also so many guys at the end who are very skillful drivers and didn't make it to the end. So you're going to find as the race, you almost, even though this race counts for points, you almost look at it as its own standalone event, and the season proper starts next week. And that's when you're going to see more usual sort of stock car racing, and this one's a little bit of an outlier. So, keen to get into the season proper. Optimistic. So we'll just have to see how it all goes.
So we'll hopefully catch you up. Well, I'm sure we'll catch you again at some time in the season. We will catch up again. But other than that, thank you so much. Anyone you'd like to give a bit of a shout out to tonight, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, of course. We've got so many great sponsors at JP Sim Shed, haven't we? Like Goodyear Auto Care Warana, who kindly provide their colours for my livery. But also we've got Abruzzi Racewear, who got across the line in P1 tonight on Josh's car. Drive Sim, Jinx Shifters as well, fantastic supporters of ours. PR Covers, Cars for Hope, all of these guys who help us get it done. And of course, SimShed Broadcasting for the great broadcast. And the league, obviously, Danny G and Matt Hunter help out with that now. So I'll give myself a little bit of credit too, because I think the league's going really well. So thank you to all of those. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm rambling, guys.
The adrenaline's dropping now. It's been a long day.
I need
it. No, thanks so much, Ed. We'll catch you again at some
stage.
Ed.
Enjoy your sleep.
Fantastic, boys. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your night.
See you, mate.
Okay, so we'll get it to an end there. Just before we go, what a race. It had everything, I think.
It did, Carl. Daytona 500 should be. There was great racing, bit of controversy, some surprises, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my time with you, and thanks to JP's Sim Shed for broadcasting tonight and having me on board. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my time with you, Carl, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, look, a big shout out to JP and SimShed Broadcasting, as well as Matt Hunter for all his work on AVTO.
Yeah, definitely.
Bringing the beautiful graphics that we see here. Look, JP and Matt Hunter have been working tirelessly on that, so a big thank you to those guys, and of course JP doing the work behind the cameras tonight.
That's
So
right.
big thank you to him. So big thank you to Lachlan, of course, for earlier in the race. Big thank you to you as well, Matt.
Thanks, Carl.
And we will see you all again next time out in Las Vegas. Have a good night all. Bye-bye.